According to Inc. magazine, 96% of businesses fail. That's a massive percentage, obviously. But when you stop and consider that our country now has 327 million citizens who all claim that they want to become successful, it becomes sadly and abundantly clear that most people are wrong when it comes to business. In fact, the Small Business Administration, the U.S. Small Business Administration, reports there are 27.9 million businesses in our country. However, a lot of data would suggest that many people form an LLC and never actually do anything with the business. So let's work off the assumption, though, that in our country, there's 16 million active businesses out there. And of that 16 million, 96% of those businesses are going to fail. That means by default, we all have just a 0.00193% chance of being successful. And it is my hope on today's show that with the help of Dr. Breck Kasbaum, the chiropractor, and Josh Spurrell, the Canadian CPA, that we can teach you the proven path and the proven moves that you can use to become successful. However, what do you call somebody who knows the moves that they can use and who has seen proof that the moves work? They've researched our clients and they've seen the success of companies like shawhomes.com or fullpackagemedia.com or drbreck.com or Spurrell CPAs. What do you call somebody who now knows what to do and then chooses not to do it? Would you go as far as to call him an idiot? Would you call him a moron? What do you call somebody who knows the proven moves that they need to use to grow their business, but they simply just choose not to do it? I call these people something worse than being an idiot and something worse than being a moron. I call these people the Uncoachables. So you're saying to get on top of the Google search results, I gotta have the most reviews, the most content, the most canonical compliance, and the most mobile compliance? Well, I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna do what you tell me to do. I don't want to be a copycat. So you're saying that the key to sustainable human resources success is doing the group interview every week? I don't want to do it every week. I want to pump it up. So you're telling me the irrefutable fact that 85% of employees lie on their resumes is according to Inc. magazine. Well, that doesn't change me because at my heart I believe that people are good and I will read all resumes. I categorically reject the idea of doing a group interview. To be successful, daytimer, you say I must have. To-do list, I must carry. I choose not to use a day planner or to-do list. The force I shall use. First successful person in the history of galaxy without a day planner. I shall become.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
Now, 3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, 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 and yes. Jason, on today's show, I'm excited because we have 29 guests booked.
That's huge.
29 guests on one show.
Man.
Only one of the guests, though, is going to be in the studio in person today.
Right.
And we have Dr. Breck here in person in the studio. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Clay. How are you doing?
I'm excited to have our one guest in person. And rumor has it you have set a record of sorts. Tell us about the win, because we live here for wins of the week, so much so that I have music always ready to celebrate the wins of the week, because now it is time for Wins of the Week.
Doing the bull dance, feeling the flow.
Oh yeah. All right, Dr. Breck, tell us, what is your big win of the week?
So, Clay, I had challenged my staff to, push themselves and to push me and for us to help as many people as we can. And so our goal was to see over 80 patients in a single day. And we have now seen 90 patients in a single day.
What? Your goal was to see 80.
Our goal, I
to see
believe
80
that
patients.
we could consistently see 80 patients in a day, but we hadn't broken that little seal there at 80. And so I felt like we could do more and that we could help more people. And so I challenged them, and they rose to the occasion and kicked that challenge to the curb.
Now, before
and
I
saw
lose
90.
Before I lose my mind and start cheering excessively,
Yeah.
What was the previous record?
77
77, and your new record is what now?
is now 90.
Yes. Yes, that's impressive. Jason, that right there is why we do this.
Yeah, it is.
So, did you use your earnings to go buy yourself a bunch of shoes?
No, I didn't. No,
You did
shoes.
not buy yourself a pair of Yeezys to celebrate?
Come on.
I didn't.
Okay. Now, what we want to do on today's show is we're going to talk about calling leads, the importance of call recording, firing people, online marketing, a business exists to serve the owner, gathering Google reviews, the importance of writing content, tracking, keeping a schedule, spending money on SEO, call recording, accountability, hiring the right people, the importance of consistent meetings, daily planning, training, the dangers of invoicing, tracking numbers, launching ads, the group interview, merit-based pay, obsessing on logos and print pieces as opposed to getting something done, company-wide to-do lists, being accurate on your follow-up, having high-quality branding, team training, and delaying gratification, all this and more. So let's start here with calling your leads. When people fill out the form at drbreck.com, that would mean that they are trying to schedule their first exam, their first adjustment. And what does that cost the listeners?
It doesn't cost them anything.
So their first exam is free.
Correct.
And that is the exam, the X-ray,
Right.
and the adjustment, right?
First treatment. Yes, sir.
Okay, and it's free.
It's all free.
And Jason, let's start right there. Let's start right there. The no-brainer.
Mhm.
If everybody could just do the no-brainer, wouldn't life be a better place?
They would get so many more leads.
So let's talk about this, Dr. Breck. Most chiropractors, dentists, doctors, lawyers, people that we work with who are professionals like you,
Right.
they will not do a no-brainer.
Right.
They just say, I don't want to cheapen the brand.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, even though they're top in Google, they get far less leads
Right.
than people like you who have a no-brainer. A deal so good and so hot, the world can simply not say no to it. Talk about this. What
Yeah.
encouragement would you have for anybody out there who just doesn't want to implement a no-brainer?
I had been at that place before where I also didn't want to cheapen my brand. I didn't want to come across differently than how I viewed myself. But as you said, I mean, when you put something out there that is so good that people can't say no to, then you have that many more opportunities to actually interact with those people. So I'm interacting now with people that I would have never met prior to doing a no-brainer. And so there is that. I tried different calls to action previously, and they didn't actually call anybody to action. But now this does, and so we're getting leads that we understand that we also have to follow up those leads quickly, because when people are hurting, they want, immediate response. And so the better your systems are to reach back out to those people, to connect with those people, answer the phones, the better opportunity you have to actually interact and get those people in your door and have them become your patient, your customer.
I always like to tell people this little fun little kind of rhyme, Jason. Is when you can't sell, your business goes to hell. I don't know why that's always so fun for me to say or to teach, but it is. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Breck, before you teamed up with Tim Redmond, for those who are not familiar with the story, how long ago was it when you teamed up with Tim Redmond over there at Redmond to Growth?
If I remember, right at 2 years now.
Okay, and just so the listeners know this, my team, we provide all the back-end systems for Tim's clients. So we do all the photography, videography, graphic design. We make the business plans, and Tim helps implement that and help clients lead them down the path, and it's a really good relationship there. How much have you grown since working with a coach?
I've doubled.
You doubled?
Yeah.
So you've doubled since working with a coach?
Right. Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about, a new record day, but consistently we're seeing, twice as many patients as we did prior to this time. So, prior to 2 years ago, we were seeing on average about 35, maybe 40 patients in a day.
So we're going to go rapid fire through all these teaching points, but what would you say, Dr. Breck, to anybody right now? Let's say that somebody was in the studio right now, or maybe a guest who will be on the phone line here in just a minute, who refuses to offer a no-brainer deal, and they're not getting leads. What would you say to them?
If they absolutely refuse to?
Yeah, it's weird because they're paying for coaching. You tell them they need to make a no-brainer, but they just won't do it. What would you say to them?
I mean, you're severely handicapping yourself. You're shooting yourself in the foot. If you're not going to be coachable, then I don't understand why you have a coach.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's a proven system. I talk to patients about this all the time.
Yeah.
There are a lot of ways to go about losing weight. There's a lot of systems that you can use to lose weight. So whether that be like a Weight Watchers, a Jenny Craig, these systems have worked for other people. And if you implement the systems, they work. And so, you're just handicapping yourself within the system if you're only using a part of it. So I would say jump in with both feet and absolutely, apply what you're learning, apply what you're being told, follow the proven path, because if you are, then it's just a matter of time to find that success.
Now, Jason, on page 139 of the Boom Book, we talk about sales. And when a lead comes in, we have to call the lead a lot.
Yeah.
To call the same lead over and over and over.
True.
Why?
Because typically people aren't going to answer on the first go-around. Like, let's say, why decide to – well, because they don't know the number.
Yeah. Now let's talk about this. I was talking about this just last night with my beautiful, wonderful bride. We were talking about this. There's a phenomenon right now that the average person has over 1,000 emails in their inbox. And the average person no longer listens to voicemails.
True.
And the average person occasionally checks their Facebook Messenger. And the average person now, it just happened a few months ago. It's crazy. It's become a new thing. The average person doesn't respond to text messages either. And the average person does not respond to phone calls from numbers they don't know. So how are you supposed to reach the average person? Seriously, we're just talking about this because we have a very dear friend who reached out to us and said, "Hey, let's get together and do ABC 1, 2, 3." And we said, "Let's do it. Let's plan it." And so we're calling the guy and pretty consistently, like once a day.
Yeah. And
then he calls me back out of the blue and says, "Hey, where have you been?" And I said, I've been calling you. I've been sending you text messages. I called you, texted you. This is probably 10 times in. I'm not mad or anything. He goes, "Oh, man, I don't check the text messages anymore because I'm on these group texts, and I get so many, I just quit checking." So how are we to reach the average person?
Right.
I mean, that is the question. So, Dr. Breck, what would you say to a listener out there who just refuses to call the same lead until – this again, if somebody fills out your form,
right,
what would you say to the average person who does not want to call their lead on a consistent basis?
Well, I mean, why would you advertise if you don't want to follow up on it? I mean, why do you put yourself out there to have business or a service or have a product that you're trying to sell if you're not going to
Jason, why is this?
follow up on that? Because
in my honest opinion, well, I would say it's more than an opinion because I've proven it.
Yes.
I need to write a dissertation on this. It's most of the small business owners nowadays believe that just because, not to say that Breck has done this, but let's use Breck as an example. He's got his form you fill out on the website, the phone number on the website, potentially some sort of social media link that you can reach out to him. Every business owner thinks the customer is going to come directly to them.
They do.
But what happens is they fill the form out, and now it's on the business owner or their team to call them back, and they're like, that's not how this works.
A lead is like a fish. Your business is like a boat.
Right.
You have to get the fish in the boat. The fish typically don't just jump into the boat.
Right.
And you cannot have a passive mentality. Now, point number 2, call recording. Jason, clarityvoice.com is who we recommend, clarityvoice.com.
So good.
All of the clients who've implemented call recording, all of them, whenever they start listening to the calls, are they pleasantly surprised at the quality of the calls before, once they start hearing the calls for the first time, or are they shocked at how bad the calls are?
It's somewhere right in the middle. Typically, it leans more towards shocked, and they listen to the first call and they go, "Dear God," or I listen to it with them in the meeting and they think, pause halfway through, "Is this what's happening in my office?" Yeah, it is. But now we know.
every day.
There was one particular sports facility that I worked with in Tulsa, and we pulled the calls for the first time.
Uh-oh.
And this is how the calls went. Jason, pretend like I'm calling you.
Okay.
And you're a lead.
Got it.
Yeah. Is this Jason?
It is. Who is this?
By the way, this person sounded just like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was calling you about our program, and and the customer again. What would you do? Continue. So yeah. So I was calling about the program.
Your program, is it like a computer program? What kind of program are we talking about?
We do sports, and so what did you want to do?
I'm confused as to what this is about.
This is what they did every call.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounded like this person had been smoking a lot of stuff before making calls.
Right.
I played the calls for the owner, and that's what was happening. The dude was blazed, just high as a kite. Jason, have you been around a lot of people that are high as a kite? Have you ever seen this phenomenon?
More than I'd like to acknowledge.
And when you're around somebody who, by the way, people out there, if you're smoking a lot of pot, this is what's happening to your brain. It dramatically slows down your ability to process the law of cause and effect, or conclusions, while also numbing you emotionally to your surroundings, and numbing you slightly to pain and the adversity of life. So, Breck, I'm sure you've seen somebody who's high as a kite.
Absolutely.
And when somebody's high as a kite, why can't they process things emotionally the right way? What happens if someone's smoking too much pot, or any pot, consistently?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's how it works. That's what the effect of it is on your brain, is that you are no longer connecting the dots between certain activities and like you said, cause and effect.
Right.
But then also, there is that numbing aspect that happens, and it's not just the numbing of your body, it's the numbing of your mind. And so, that's a big deal here in Oklahoma right now with our new medicinal marijuana laws. Everybody is going out and numbing not only the body, but also the mind in the process.
And what we've found, and this is a sad thing, but it's true, is a lot of these business owners in Oklahoma have people that have medical marijuana cards.
Yep.
And they are high while working for them.
Yep. And they're terrified to fire them.
And I'm just telling you, if you don't listen to the calls, you won't know how good or bad your team is. But, Jason, if you're out there assuming your team is on it right now as it relates to the calls and not call recording, would you not agree you're throwing away thousands, potentially millions of dollars?
Oh, 100%. Any of the clients that I've had, not to drag anybody into the bus or anything, but like we fixed the problem since, but they didn't realize that they thought that they were not getting leads. They thought that their lead conversion system was broken. They thought that their form was broken.
Oh,
It turns out you have people that either, one, don't call them back, or two, when they do call them, they're not following the script. So the customers are confused and they just decide to go somewhere else.
Now, Elon Musk, who could not be here with us on today's show because he has class. Page 168. He says, one lesson I learned at PayPal is to fire people faster. That sounds awful, but I think if somebody's not working out, it's best to part ways sooner rather than later. It's a mistake to try too hard to make something work that really couldn't work. This is Elon Musk, the founder and he's the guy behind PayPal, the man behind Tesla, the man behind SpaceX. Let's talk about this, Breck, for the listeners out there that just won't fire people that treat customers and patients wrongly. What would you say? What advice would you have for somebody out there that just refuses to fire people?
I don't know. I mean, you do. You have to. You just have to get over that fear of wanting to be their friend and actually, lead your company and be the boss. Sometimes that's fun, and sometimes it's not fun. But when you have a passion for what you're doing, you have a mission statement, you are on purpose, then you start to very quickly connect the dots that this person is not on your passion, they're not on your purpose, and they're not in your organization. And so you're able to better remove yourself from the emotional side of that.
Yep.
And you just put on your big boy pants, big girl pants, and you get it done. And over time, it does get a little bit easier. I know, Clay, that you've had to do this several times.
So many times.
And that it's not an emotional roadblock for you at all anymore.
3 times this week. 3 times this
and
week.
So, I mean, it's part of the process, and you have to embrace that it is going to happen. And sometimes that person may be a friend, but and they can still be a friend, and you can let them be a friend in another work position. They can be a friend in personal life and no longer somebody you see at the office.
Carl, it's not you, it's me. We can still be friends. What happens is, though, in business, is that we all go out there, we start a business, and we're fired up about the idea.
Oh, yeah.
We're passionate. We care about our patients, our customers. And what happens is that from each person, who's not you, as the company scales, each person who's not you is a little less passionate than you are.
Sure.
So by the time you get to about 50 employees, the guy at the very entry level usually doesn't care at all about the mission
Right.
or the passion. And it's your job as an owner to make sure that the bozo effect doesn't happen where A players hire B players and B players hire C players, and pretty soon you have D and F players on your team.
Right.
So you've got to do is set the standard. And Sam Walton he couldn't be here, Jason, because he is
Dead.
That is true. There's only one boss, the customer, and he can fire anybody in the company from the chairman on down simply by spending his money somewhere else. So if you don't fire bad people, you will lose.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Breck, you're having great success now, but tell the listeners out there about the pain of not being successful and how long it took you guys to figure it out, because there's somebody out there who's not going to act today unless they experience pain.
Right.
They cannot handle that. Your success story is not motivational enough, so they're kind of going, yeah, I'm not motivated by a great story of gain. I need to hear about the pain of not implementing this. And how long were you stuck in the pain? Tell us about the pain.
I've been in practice for we're going on 16 years now.
Yep.
And I struggled in the pain, the bottom depths of abysmal business sense for about 12 years.
12 years, folks. So I'm
the
telling
better
you,
part of it, I mean, over a decade for sure.
if you've been stuck, you can get unstuck.
True.
But if you don't implement all the things we're telling you today, it's not going to work. Because even if you, let's say you said, okay, I'm going to start calling my leads every time. I'm going to install call recording. I'm going to do all the marketing, but I'm not going to fire people. That's not going to work.
Right.
You've got to fire. What would the you like OSU football,
Yes.
Oklahoma State football? What would the team look like if anyone who tried out got to play?
Well, unfortunately, maybe like it does now.
I mean, think about that for a
No,
second.
it would be
though.
terrible. Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to play because I'm not at the caliber athlete that needs to be on the field, and so you've got to
not
have
mean.
a criteria that you want to, excel. And you've got to hire the team that you want to be, not the team that you currently are or have been.
There we go.
And then, if you have people on your team that don't meet that standard, then you need to continue to do the group interviews. You need to find better quality players and bring them into your team so that you can let lesser quality players go and seek their passion elsewhere.
Now, let's say that, okay, you've embraced calling leads, call recording, firing people. Now, online marketing. On step 6 and page 121 of the Boom Book, we talk about this all the time. But yet I have met a hand surgeon in the upper Midwest as recently as, let's not get myself in trouble, let's say 3 years ago-ish, who told me that people do not use the internet when looking for a surgeon. Now, he was referred to me by his friend who is killing it, who's making a ton of money, who's been an active long-time client. And he says, dear friend, you're rolling. How are you rolling? You're doing so great. How are you doing so great? And the friend says, well, I've been using Clay Clark and his coaching system for a long time now. And we kill the game on online marketing, man. And he says, will you kill the game? And he says, yes. And he says, but you're a doctor. Do people actually look online for you? And he says, yes. And he says, that's why you should use them. This is the story. And then the hand surgeon says this. It's crazy. He says, yeah, but all my business comes in word of mouth. To which the other doctor says, I know, because you're not on the internet.
You're not doing it.
And he says, yeah, but
You're
all my
losing.
leads come in from referral. Nothing comes in off the internet. And he's like, I know, because you're not on the internet.
Right.
I can't imagine
You
how
can
that
change that.
conversation would go. Just be like, God, my hand's feeling weird. Oh, what you should do is go to this guy and he'll cut it open with a scalpel. He's the only guy I use to cut my hands open.
Think about this for think about this for a second. Breck, try to help me understand the mindset. Because
No,
a
I
lot
totally
of doctors
get it.
say, I don't do online marketing because all of my business currently comes in from word of mouth, which I would say that's why you need to do online marketing. But how can someone not see that conclusion?
Well, referral patients are the best patients.
Okay.
So you have a patient that's out there talking about your services because they've experienced it firsthand. And when they do, they've already pre-sold their friend, their family member on you and your services, right?
Right.
So they are the best, just like with your business. That was the best type of lead is because you had helped his friend. So now he's telling his friend. The one doctor is telling the hand surgeon.
Yes.
And so, those are the best types of patients. And so, yes, you want to do what you can internally, externally to continue to grow that area of your business. But yet, if you're not playing the game, of course, you're losing every game you don't play. Like I had a coach that said, you miss every shot you don't take.
True.
And so, he's just doesn't even realize what he doesn't know because he's not in a segment of opportunity. Like if he gets online, then all of a sudden, maybe less than half of his business
You used to
comes
have a
from referrals.
website that was almost hidden from the internet.
If you typed in my name, you couldn't find.
So if someone
my
typed in
name.
Dr. Breck, they couldn't find your name.
I don't think you could find my name because it was so lost in the netherworlds of the internet.
And now it seems as though, and I could be wrong, but it seems as though you're getting at least a qualified patient every day.
Yes, every day.
Every day?
Multiple.
Multiple.
Yeah. I mean,
every
this
day.
is kind of cathartic because I've done everything the wrong way before.
Okay. So if you're out there listening
I can
here,
relate.
we're gonna take some calls here in a little bit. And Jason, I believe we're actually gonna be calling a Canadian who is coachable, Josh Spurrell, here at 7.
See a Mountie?
He might be down with the Mountie conspiracy. I know. I can for sure tell you because he's from up there. He's into Bieber, and he's into Bryan Adams, and he's into the Blue Jays, and he's into Molson Ice. And hockey, I can tell you that. All those stereotypes are true, I can tell you that. But we'll be calling Josh Spurrell, the Canadian CPA, who's very coachable as well here at 7. And then we will take calls from people who maybe are less than coachable according to our call screener. Okay, so here we go. Now, gathering Google reviews and a business existing to serve the owner. Dr. Breck, if you do not fundamentally believe that the business exists to serve you, what does your life look like as a business owner if you do not believe that the business serves you? What does that look like?
This alone was a paradigm shift for me because I did not ever consider the business to exist to serve me prior to getting coaching. And so I hadn't really read that. I hadn't come across that prior to working with Tim Redmond and you guys at Thrive.
Yep.
And so I had to kind of sit and wrestle with that a little bit. But, no, I totally am on board with the idea. I get that now. Because I have goals, I have passions, and I did create the business to feed those goals and passions. And, prior to that, it was just me slaving away trying to help every patient that I could, but at the same time running more and more on empty.
If you do not embrace this idea, your life will be hell. And let me give you an example. We have an elected official who's most people, if I mentioned his name, they would go, oh, okay, I know him. If you live in Oklahoma, you'd know his name.
Sure.
And he has determined that we are the best marketing team in our state. That's his worldview. Mm-hmm. And so he sends me a text, hey, could we meet for dinner? I'd like to discuss about how you could help me during the remaining 2 years of my term to market my reelection, basically.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, we have a 13-point assessment. I can schedule it, and I gave him times. So it's like, I think 9 a.m. on a Saturday or Tuesday at 3. I have like 5 spots open.
Right.
And he says, no, I want to meet for dinner. And I said, I appreciate you. And I just don't do dinners anymore. I used to do a lot of that. Because I'm with the kids and the wife now and hanging out. So if we could do during these 5 times. And he says, well, if you want my business, then you're going to have to meet me for dinner. And I said, well, I guess I just don't want it then. So that happens, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm turning down okay business for great business.
Right.
Because I just had another elected official who reached out to me, we went over the boundaries. We went over the times I was available. And he said, sure, let's do it then. And that's great.
Right.
But if you're not careful, you're going to run around having 9 o'clock meetings every night. Yep. You're going to be rescheduling every day for the patient that just has to. They can't come in on Monday through Friday. They can't get in 9 to 5. They can't get in. And
everybody wants me to work on Saturday.
Everybody does.
Of course.
There's very few people that say you should be closed on Saturday.
No one thinks I should be closed. I should live at the office.
Yeah. You could be. Now, as an example, Dr. Zellner is open 7 days a week, right? But he's not there.
Right.
He has people that are there who work different shifts, and they rotate on the weekends. But Jason, if somebody does not believe that a business exists to serve them, what's going to happen?
They will exist to serve their business, and they will just do that 24/7. They will become the hardest working employee in their business, and they will never have time for any of, like Breck said, the goals that they originally started the business to accomplish.
And then they can't sell the business because if someone wanted to buy the business and they discover that you have to work 100 hours a week to make it happen, you're not sellable. I'm serious. This is it's a doom
built
loop.
on your own personality. You know, I mean,
There
for
it
me
is.
in a service that I'm in chiropractic, I mean, I can have a practice that's staff driven, which is something that we're working towards, or it can be totally personality driven, where I am the commodity that people are really purchasing rather than the service itself. And so that has to be something that people that are in a service definitely have to consider.
Now, we talk about this a lot on the show. We talk about the importance of gathering objective reviews, okay? So if you're a podcast, you'd want to get reviews on iTunes and Stitcher and Google, and you know, or if you're a chiropractor, I would argue that Google's very, very important to get Google reviews.
True.
Dr. Breck, there's got to be somebody out there saying to themselves, yeah, but I'm a doctor, and reviews don't necessarily impact me. And I know there's somebody out there because we have a listener who listens to almost every show who came up to me at the conference and was very nice about it. But they said, hey, I want you to know, in my industry, reviews don't really work. Jason, how often have you heard this? That getting Google reviews really doesn't matter. And maybe you heard it as recently as yesterday morning. We won't mention anyone's name, but I mean, talk to me about the excuses people give for not getting reviews and the kind of pushback people have about reviews.
A lot of people don't understand that is how everybody finds you. Like if I'm going online to find a chiropractor, if I don't even know I'm looking for Breck yet, I'm just looking for somebody, I'm going to see who comes up first because I'm not going past that first page of Google. But more importantly, I'm going to look at that map because it's the first thing that pops up, and Breck's going to be at that top of the map, so I'm clicking on him first. One, because he's the fastest person to get to. Two, he's got the highest and most reviews. And if I see that he has, what do you guys at, like 370 some odd reviews?
Yeah,
I'll pull it up right now.
Yeah.
You keep.
If I see that compared to, you know, a best choice chiropractic just because they want to be ranked alphabetically top and they have 3 reviews and it's 2.5, I'm not going there.
He has 323 reviews.
Woo! But I mean, it's massive. And as, you know, just to answer your question, I hear that more frequently than I'd like to admit.
Oh.
But the best part is when you're able to show somebody, I always pull the Cola example. I'm like, look, they are beating a multinational corporation as far as overall reviews, content, and visitors because they are just on it. If I Google Joplin Gyms, I'm going to check out Cola before I check out Planet Fitness.
Now, think about this for a second. I'm going to do a Google search. I want all the listeners to do a search right now for the phrase Joplin Gyms. Joplin Gyms. Jason, again, I don't want to mention the name of the company, but we were on the phone yesterday with somebody who mentioned it's not possible to get reviews because they're so busy.
Yeah, which is the best time to get reviews.
Breck, encourage somebody out there who, for whatever reason, is saying, I'm so busy right now, we can't get reviews. What would you say to them?
No, you have to get reviews. I didn't used to have hardly any reviews. I think organically we had like 15 reviews.
And you've been in business for 12 years.
Yeah, that had
15 organic reviews, right?
I mean, that's just what happened to come in over a decade period. But then we started to actually, you know, have a system of asking our patients to review us, you know, and we do our best to make sure every patient is happy. And so, you know, we feel comfortable asking every patient that's in the office to give us an honest review. But now we have 323, I think you said.
Yep.
You know, that momentum just builds. Now I have patients who come in for the very first time who've never met me before that say, I was online, I was checking you out, and you have great reviews. Your people love you. I read, you know, 4 or 5 of them. They all consistently said, you guys care, you guys take care of people.
There it is.
You guys are the best place to be, and I didn't want to go anywhere else.
Yep.
And so you have to get those reviews. It matters. And then also, your competitors are out doing the same thing. You know, that's the biggest challenge for me is that there's a competitor that has, you know, 150 reviews. I want to have, you know, 5 times as many. Just so like Jason said, so the difference is so great that it's, again, a different type of no-brainer. Now you're clicking on our website rather than the other one because it's a no-brainer. 5,000 people say this place is the place to be. They can't all be wrong.
If you search for Joplin Gyms, Joplin, Joplin Gyms, and you search for it, look at Colal. They come up top with 3,787 reviews. You got Planet Fitness rocking in at 246, okay? So it's, if we're keeping score, the score is 3,787 versus 246, okay?
That's a pretty convincing score.
Yeah,
And-
but they do pizza on Monday.
And they have video reviews. Look, they have video reviews.
Mm-hmm.
They've got the website. Jason, now the next moment here, okay, the next potentially uncoachable moment that we hear from people all the time is they say, yeah, but I don't have time to write content for my website, and I don't want to add content to my website. Co-laws do it. They come up top in Google. There's only 4 variables that impact your rank in the Google search engine results.
True.
1 is you build your website to be canonically compliant. 2, you make sure it's mobile compliant. 3, you get the most reviews. And 4, you write the most content. So if you own a business today, you have to do the following 4 action steps. 1, get a video review on a daily basis if possible. 2, add an image to your website that is optimized. 3, write search engine content. And 4, get more reviews. VISM. V, get more video reviews. I, add those images and optimize them. S, write search engine content, 1,000 words per page. M, get more reviews. VISM. Without a VISM, your online presence will perish. It will happen. You will die. You will diminish. Breck, somebody out there is going, yeah, but I just don't have time to write the content, and I also don't want to pay your team, Clay, to write the content. What would you say to someone who says, I don't want to write the content myself. I don't have time.
Right.
But I also don't want your team writing the content. What would you say to that person?
I mean, there are a couple of different things that we've talked about through the coaching. One of those is to do kind of like a video blog, and then you have it transcribed.
There we go.
And so that becomes part of that content, word-wise in your website. But yeah, I mean, you either do it yourself, and you, as Jason just said, you are your most expensive, hardest working employee in your business, or you delegate. You've got to these are things that have to happen. You've got to find a way to do it, and it doesn't all have to be you wearing every hat in the business. If you're going to grow, you've got to create some systems that allow you to scale, and some of those are a big part of that is delegation.
Now, Jason, tracking.
Oh, yeah.
Tracking. There are some people out there that just, they hate tracking.
Yeah. It's a numbers thing, I think.
They don't want to track.
Nope.
And how tough could it be? Let's contrast a very easy-to-coach client. Think of a client in your mind that tracks, that consistently tracks. They're tracking all the time.
Actually, I got 2.
Okay, so think about these 2 in your mind that are just right there in your cranium. Let's put them on blast, the person who tracks and does a great job. Who is this person?
Number 1 is going to be the super attorney, Blake Johnson.
Okay, so Blake Johnson. When he tracks, there's all sorts of notable quotables. Essentially, you measure what you treasure. So by treasuring something, by measuring what he's treasuring, how does that impact your relationship in a positive way, and how does that help him grow his company?
It impacts the relationship between us as coach and coachee, whereas he can see tracking and going over all of the ads and the systems that we're doing, that dollar amount go up every single week. So when he looks back at it, he's like, oh, this makes sense. I can see the forward progression of my company because I'm tracking where the numbers are. And it helps him personally. Like this past year, he's seen massive wins because he's found areas where he wasn't hitting his personal weekly goal. So he decided to ramp it up and then shoot for a higher number. That way he's out, or he's overachieving. And he kind of pulled the old Reeb technique and started doing like a monthly subscription. And now that he's tracking that, he's seeing, oh, I have all this extra money coming in, and I didn't even think about that before.
Breck, there's somebody out there who is in the doom loop where you used to be.
Right.
And for whatever reason, they don't want to track. I don't get it. I need your help here.
Yeah, I've read some things recently that kind of spoke to this. There's a great book, I'm trying to think of the title. It just escaped me.
The Bible?
No, that's a great book.
Okay,
also.
that's always my backup book suggestion.
Yeah, it's 4 Disciplines of Execution.
4 Disciplines of Execution.
And part of that talks about the need for a scoreboard. I mean, if you ever watch sports, without a scoreboard, sports are far less entertaining. They're far less interesting.
Which is my fundamental beef with cheerleading. We have no idea.
It's totally subjective.
What the score is.
As a former cheerleader, you never know.
Some people will say, "Man, that your kids are killing it today."
Yeah, and you're
some
like,
people
I have no idea.
I appreciate that. Sometimes I think my kids are doing great, and they're like, "No, they're losing."
Right. That
what do you mean they're losing? Yeah, we just lost. I mean, you talk again.
But you got to have a scoreboard. And so for me, one of the things that we're working on implementing is different games that the employees can win. And so you make it fun, you make it challenging, and you also have a reward that they're shooting for. Right now we're in the college playoffs, and these guys are playing to get the gold ball. They're playing to get the trophy, and people play harder. People are naturally competitive when there's something to win, and so we create weekly games, and then we create monthly games. We create quarterly games, and then we have an annual game, and then we can reset those games, and we keep the score. And so we know what we have to do each week in order to meet our monthly goals, and then we have what we're going to do each month to meet our quarterly, and the quarterly for the year. And that's how you keep the engine running forward.
And the average person who is not a successful entrepreneur, because remember in our country, in America right now, we have 327 million Americans. We only have 16 million of which who have an active LLC, an active business. And according to Inc. magazine, 96% of businesses fail. So that means there's 0.00193 percentage chance that you will be a successful entrepreneur. That's 0.00193. So when I'm in a room of 1,000 people, there's usually one of you who's going, "That's right, you better track." Now, meanwhile, the whole audience, you say, "Folks, how many of you out there want to track?" And you're like, "Hey, guys, hey, how many of you?" And there's one guy in the back going, "That's right, we got to track," because most people are passionately going the wrong direction.
Yep.
Right.
Gino Wickman, in his book Traction, says, "Use it! Exclamation point. You must review your scorecard every week to ensure that you're on track for your vision." The real magic of using a scorecard is not limited to managing it on a weekly basis. You will see 13 weeks, 3 months at a glance, which enables you to see patterns and trends. Do some tracking. Everyone's got to track. This next thing, and these are all things that you would only do if you're, again, this is how the world's going to label you. If you start doing these things, this is what your extended family is going to say about you. This is what the employees are going to say about you. They're going to say, "You're so anal. You're so type A.
Yeah.
You're such a jerk."
Yep.
I mean, you mean you want us to be accountable to a set quota of reviews per day?
Who do you think you are?
You want us to write content on a daily basis, and you're going to fire us if we don't do it? You mean that the business exists to serve you and not me? You mean that you're going to hold us accountable to having a website that's not terrible? You mean we have to follow a call script because you're listening to our calls? You mean that we have to call our leads over and over and over?
Mm-hmm.
The only person that would do these kind of things is a successful person.
Yep.
Now, keeping a schedule. Dr. Breck, there's somebody out there that for whatever reason, part of their demon mind, it's part of their, it's like a satanic wealth repelling thing called Jackassery.
Yeah.
Makes them not want to start their meetings on time.
Right.
And I am a recovering jackass. I'm sure
Yep,
everybody
me too.
out there, so we've gone through this.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about what happens in a company when the owner starts everything late and doesn't value the time of everybody else. What happens?
Well, it absolutely sets the tone for so many things. And I think, it's starts well before that late meeting. The schedule needs to be consistent. The schedule needs to be pre-thought out, pre-planned, and, like you've talked about, you need to start every day with at least an hour before you're talking and communicating, interacting with another human. I start my day at around 4:30 in the morning. That's when I have my quiet time, get some time in the gym, and then, after 6:30, now I'm interacting with other people. But I've been doing that consistently for years now, and so initially it was tough. I'm naturally a night owl. I'm not a morning person, so I had to coach myself into being a morning person. But those are some of the best hours of the day, and so my schedule is consistent. I'm here on Monday. I'm there on Tuesday. I'm doing this Wednesday. Between the hours of 9 and 12, I'm with patients. Between the hours of 2:30 and 6, I'm with patients. My wife doesn't call me. My kids don't call me. If there's an emergency, they call 911. I'll hear about it in a little while because I can't do anything about it during those times. My attention is 100% focused on the patient that's in front of me. And then, my staff is taking care of everything outside of my room, in the office. And then, the rest of the world is operating somewhere outside of my office. And so I can't be everyone's savior, and I can't solve every problem. And so I don't even attempt to. But, you've got to protect your schedule, and you've got to, first you have to have a schedule, and then you have to protect the schedule, and you have to be able to say no to certain things so that you can say yes to better things. And that starts with, starting your day on time, starting your meeting on time, having the agenda for the meeting, having a plan set of things that
This
you
is
need
great.
to talk about, and then you're going to end the meeting on time. And you've got action steps ready to happen and roll out when you leave the meeting. Not having meetings upon meetings to have another meeting and a committee to form another meeting. Those are things that just, it's terrible when it weighs your company down and nobody wants to come to the meeting because it's pointless. You need to have a meeting that has energy, that has a point, and gets something accomplished.
This is so important for somebody out there. If you were to open up your Bible to John 10:10, and if you don't believe in the Bible, it's fine. I just want to make sure you get this idea because I want you to understand how passionate I am about this. The Bible teaches us these universal truths that if you don't believe in the Bible, it's fine. But these particular verses, I think, will resonate with you. There's a John 10:10 is the Bible verse, and it says, "The thief has come to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." What that means, again, the thief comes only to steal and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. Is that I really do believe that it is a satanic idea to be perpetually late.
Yes.
I do believe it is a satanic idea. And you might say, that's harsh. Well, if Satan in the Bible, if John describes it and he says, the thief comes to kill and destroy, you will destroy your business, and you will kill your business, and you will be robbing your own family of potential financial success if you're always late.
Right.
So it could not be a Christian idea, a Christ-like idea to constantly be late.
Well, and part of the idea of being a Christian is daily dying to oneself. And I believe that being late, and especially perpetually late, is just a very selfish action, very self-centered, because you're not taking into account the other people that are now waiting on you.
See, and I'll think about this for a second. We talked about call recording. There's nothing dishonest about telling your team, Jason, you're listening to the calls, and that you're going to use those for training purposes. American Express does it. Go to Walmart.
Everybody
see how many
does,
cameras are up there. Do you see Lowe's now has cameras everywhere on every aisle?
That's true.
There's
Even
nothing
at the
wrong.
checkout, everybody's doing it.
There's nothing wrong about it.
Right.
It allows you to see what's going on.
Right.
Right?
Because otherwise, nobody's going to tell you until it's too late.
Right.
I was at Lowe's yesterday. No, I wasn't. I did go to Lowe's, but I was at Walmart, the one that's east of the county line on 71st.
Yep.
It's a new Walmart, and there's cameras up. And I was messing around with my daughter, but it was with Aubrey and Havana. And there's your face is on a huge screen now in there. Have you seen that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm like, guys, I think we're being watched. But there's like a camera where you obviously know, and the lady who works at Walmart, the lady who kind of mans the self-checkout area to make sure you can get help if you need to.
Right.
She doesn't know that I'm messing with her, but I'm like, I feel like they're watching us. And I'm looking right into the camera, and I can see my face on the big screen. I'm like, guys, I think that's me. Oh, no. What about all the things I've been saying? And so it was just really funny. And I was like, and I was swiping my credit card. I'm like, I don't want them to see my credit card number. So I'm like, swiping. Anyway, I'm playing this game, and this lady's just laughing because she thinks for the longest time that I am actually just now discovering that these cameras are up. But your employees will try to flip it on you and make you feel like a bad person.
Yeah. Right.
Why are you micromanaging me? Do you not trust that I can't follow the script?
I do trust that you cannot follow the script.
No,
You're
but
right.
think about this. Think about this. That is like a perversion of truth.
Right.
Somehow you feel bad when you record the calls on your team.
You're right.
Somebody out there needs to hear this.
Yeah, you should not feel bad for holding people accountable to do what they're supposed to do.
Somebody out there, Jason, feels bad right now.
Yep.
That they're holding their team accountable to doing a set number of Google reviews per day.
Yeah. Well, they just think I'm being too tyrannical, and it's the whole relationship dynamics. They're not my friends anymore when I treat them that way.
Right.
I've never known anyone who's doing the right thing to be bothered by accountability.
Now look at this. John 8:44 reads, "You belong to your father, the devil, and you want to carry out your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning, not holding to the truth, for there is no truth in him. When he lies, he speaks his native language, for he is a liar and the father of lies." How perverted and crazy is it that we have great clients that used to feel bad about making their team track their numbers? Man, my team used to make me feel bad about that. Back in the day, when I was running DJConnection.com, I would be on the guys about tracking, and they would get mad. And then they would go, what is your deal? What is your deal? Why do you have to make us track? What, you've never forgot to track before? They'd always do that. Or if I wrote them up for being late, oh, so you've never been late before?
Right.
There's always that holier than thou thing. Now I don't have that problem at all because I won't get into that discussion. But, man, I'm telling you what, you've got to, if you're out there feeling bad about holding your team accountable, we've got to work through that. Now, the next thing a lot of people fight us about is hiring the right people, which would imply that some people are the wrong people.
Right.
Thus, we have to do a group interview every week. Now, the group interview is a game changer. Yep. And, Jason, by default, what percentage of people have you talked to, whether it be at the conference or over the phone or in a coaching relationship, that have given you some sort of pushback about doing the group interview, whether it would be the ethics, the practicality, the I've heard this one. It's like Darwinism. It's unbelievable. I mean, can you please explain what percentage of people push back on the group interview?
Well, every coaching client that I've ever worked with initially has pushed back on it.
Yeah.
And as far as the whole Darwinian thing goes, I mean, survival of the fittest. It exists for a reason. The strong survive, and so that's the same. You need to look at your business the same way. Like, why would you want to have the smallest specimen possible when you could have an Arnold Schwarzenegger on your team?
I hear people say all the time. They'll say, "Well, my brother, he's very vital to our team." And I'm like, "That's fine. Stop talking like that." No, say, "No, my brother, he's very vital to the team."
So what does he bring to the team?
And he'll go, he calls all the leads, and he's a very effective manager. And I'm like, well, maybe that was true a decade ago, but he's not at the meeting today.
Nope.
Or any meeting. He's chronically late. Yeah, well, my sister, though, she's helping him right now. The two of them are working together to try to get more functional in 2020. And you're like, stop. No. Get them out of here. Fire the incompetent people. Hire competent people. Dr. Breck, what would you say for somebody out there that's pushing back about doing the group interview?
You just have to do it. I initially pushed back, and you probably would argue against this, Clay, but I would say even if you're not willing to do it once a week, do it every other week. Do it once a month.
I agree. Start somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have a much better team that you're working with if you at least start somewhere and you start to when you have a person who needs to be fired, you're able to do it. You're not being held hostage any longer. Or when a situation happens, we had a woman who got pregnant, intended to come back to work, but then, didn't. And we needed to replace that person. And no fault of her own. I mean, that's great. That's a situation.
Real quick, I want to tee off on this for a second. Jason, you're a recovering stand-up comedian guy. You've done stand-up comedy.
Yes.
Again, humor comes from
honesty.
So whenever you say something where they go, that's so true, and they kind of laugh, that's humor.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let me explain this to you real quick because somebody out there is going to get offended real fast. And I'm not trying to offend you. I'm just trying to make sure we're getting this idea. Because, again, it's a sick and perverted thing where you're offended by truth.
Yeah.
So here's an example. Jerry Seinfeld is absolutely hilarious. And one of the things that he discovered is that kids love candy. I mean, he talks about this at great length that kids love candy. Mm-hmm. I'm going to cue this up real quick. This is Seinfeld talking about how much kids love candy. Okay, give me 1 second here. This is...
One thing I do like about being with my older relatives is it makes me feel like a kid again. They're feeding you. You're trying to steal candy. Candy was my whole life when I was a kid. That was first 10 years of my life. I think the only clear thought I had was get candy. That was it. Family, friends, school. They're just obstacles in the way of the candy. I'm out for the candy here. I'm just thinking, get candy, get candy, get candy, get candy, get candy. That's why you have to teach kids not to take candy from a stranger if they're playing in a playground, because they're such candy moron idiot brains. They're just, this man has candy, I'm going with him, goodbye, I don't care what happens to me, get candy, get candy, get candy, get candy. Don't go, they'll torture you, they'll kidnap you, it doesn't matter, he has an O. Henry, I have to take that chance. Get candy, get candy, get candy. So the first time you hear the concept of Halloween when you're a kid, your brain can't even process the information. You're like, what is this? What did you say? So what did you say about giving out candy? Who was giving out candy? Everyone that we know is just giving out candy? Are you kidding me? When is this happening? Where? Why? Take me with you. I got to be a part of this. I'll do anything that they want. I can wear that.
But that is truth right there.
True.
Now, another thing that's true, but it doesn't get the same comedic reaction, is most women who have kids don't come back to work for a while. Now, think about this for a second. You're saying, why are you talking about this? Okay, we talk about the gender income gap. Think about this. If you played in the professional football, right? Let's say you're Tom Brady, and you're really good at football, and you're 26, and you go, here's the deal. Coach Jason, I've got to leave on male maternity leave because I live in a socialistic economy, and I would like for you to pay me full wages this year. I'm going to be gone for a year. And but don't replace me. Don't get another quarterback. I'll be back. Why couldn't you do that? Why could you not just not fill the position of quarterback during the year that Tom Brady's gone?
Well, because we actually need somebody to hike and throw the ball. I mean, football's all about forward progress. You're not going to get that without your quarterback. So
you think about this though for a second, okay? So there are a lot of women, great women I know, who have decided to leave the workplace for 2 to 5 years to have kids.
Right.
Does the world change when you're gone? I mean, does technology update, do things?
Yes.
So if you're gone for 5 years,
Sure.
is it possible that you might have to work for less money than another woman who didn't leave for 5 years?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking, that's like 10 iPhones right there.
So we talk about the gender gap on income. I want to just deal with this for a second. People that leave the workplace every 3 years for 1 year deserve to be paid less than the person who doesn't miss work for 1 year every 3 years. So you see a lot of career women who don't have kids, and they make a lot more than women who do leave with the kids.
True. Right.
And I see this all the time in my businesses. People will say, I'm going to leave to have a child, and I'm going to come back. And, Jason, you've worked with me at Elephant in the Room.
It's true.
And we've had some women who have come back.
Yeah,
but what percentage of the people that say they're going to leave and then come back after having a kid actually come back?
I mean, the batting average of the people who come back are not high. In my, almost 3 years of being there, we've had...
What percentage do you think actually come back? Half? Is it less than half?
We had 2 out of 5 actually come back.
So, Breck, I mean, you've seen that.
Right.
So if you didn't do the group interview and you accepted what someone said to you, if they said, I will come back.
Right.
And you trusted that statement, where would you be?
Well, I mean, like you said, as a quarterback, you have a job that still needs to get done. And so you have to have someone else to fulfill that role. And it could be for any number of reasons. I mean, we've had spouses of employees that got another job offer in another state. There's going to be things in life. Life is going to happen as a business owner. You do not live in a vacuum. You don't live in a utopia world. If you do, congratulations.
Great job if you're doing that right now. Great job.
I do not, and so there are things that are going to happen, and so we want to be prepared for those things rather than, now something falls in my lap on Monday and I've got to, get a advertisement for a position out on Indeed or, in other sources, and then interview a ton of people and try to find the best candidate and read through resumes and, till I'm blue in the face. It's a terrible process.
The group
to
interview
then do
is
that
beautiful.
Last minute. The group interview, we had a position that we had to fill recently, and the previous group interview had people that I did not have a position for, but they were great candidates.
Oh, yeah.
People that I liked, and I asked them if I could keep them on a short list.
There we go.
Of people that I wanted
I
to
love this story.
revisit.
I love this story.
And so we brought them back in for a checkup, kind of, make sure that we're still compatible, things are still on track, that the situation hasn't changed. And they were hired, kind of on the spot because we had already previously interviewed them.
It is. I'm telling you, if you do the group interview, you just post the job post every week. We can help you. If you're stuck, just reach out to us for some one-on-one coaching. We can help you, or get to a conference. We can help you. You make a job post it every week. Everybody who responds, just tell them, I'd love to interview you this Thursday at 6 or whatever time works good for you and your family. Interview them all at one time and save yourself the hell of going through 50 resumes, because 85% of people lie on the resumes according to Inc. magazine.
Right.
So you're talking about reading. You're basically reading. This is how it works if you do one-on-one interviews. It's like this. Step 1, post the job post. Step 2, the candidates will email you fiction pieces. People will email you pieces of fiction, of good creative narrative. You will read the creative non-truth documents called resumes. Then, based upon your ability to read fiction, you will then interview people who will say insincere statements to you for the same reason they wrote insincere statements to get the interview.
Sure. My biggest weakness is I care too much.
And then eventually you're going to get worn out after interviewing 40 people one-on-one, and you're eventually just going to hire somebody out of desperation.
Right.
And then
just
your
to have
team
the process be over.
is going to suck. But with a group interview, you have options, choices.
Absolutely.
And the person with the most options wins. Now, Jason, we're going to call now Josh Spurrell, the Canadian longtime client and accountant who's based in Edmonton, Canada there. And you always worry when you call people on a live show or a show that's being recorded that they're not going to pick up. And usually after 2 rings, there's little hope for a pickup. Oh,
Clay.
yeah. Yes, what's going on, dude?
Hey, buddy, I called into that number, but I guess this works too. So.
Hey, and by the way, we are in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you're in Edmonton right now, or did you decide to drive down the little jaunt to be here for us?
I am actually in Vancouver, right at the moment.
Really? And what are you doing in Vancouver?
We're just doing a little bit of sightseeing. We're harassing an influencer down here, so. We got a little bit of a meeting with him. So
nice. Okay, so real quick, for the listeners out there that are not familiar with you, and for you, just so you know, we've got Dr. Breck on the show. Dr. Breck, meet Josh Spurrell.
How are you doing, sir?
Pretty good, Dr. Breck. Yourself?
I'm doing well, thank you. Great to meet you.
2 professionals, a Canadian CPA and an American chiropractor. And then Jason and I are what you would call non-professionals.
That's true.
We are professionals.
Yeah, I wore my Justin Trudeau shirt just for you.
Now, we're going to talk today. We're working through some of the uncoachable mindsets that listeners all around the world have. And we're trying to make sure everybody knows what they need to do, and then we're trying to convince everybody to do it. And my understanding is today now we're going to be talking about the importance of knowing your numbers. Are you prepared, my friend?
I am ready, Clay.
And how long have you been in business for the listeners out there who don't know?
Oh, Clay, I've had my practice now, so I've been running small businesses for more than 2 decades at this point. But I had my accounting practice, my CPA practice, for just over 8 years now.
And how did you first hear about me?
SEO, Clay, Google. Google is the key 88% of the time, and I was one of those 88% of the people.
Did you find our podcast or the website, or what did you find first?
Found the website. For the business conference.
And then you came to the conference, and
That's right.
And you flew from Edmonton to Minneapolis, and your flight got canceled, if I'm correct, right?
That's right. Yep.
And then you drove from Minneapolis to Tulsa all night to attend the conference.
Wow.
That's showed up looking like the homeless person, and you guys still let me in. I didn't have my luggage or anything.
And what was it worth it?
It was worth it. Yeah. So I think it's one of the best conferences that I've been to.
And talk to me about your growth in the last 18 months or so since we've started working with you.
I mean, we're in terms of revenue-wise, we're up over 30%. That's for sure. So, which is a big statement coming from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, because the economic situation there is fairly tough. So 30% growth in Edmonton is unheard of these days.
Explain to the listeners out there how tough your economy is, because you almost deserve a merit badge and an award and then a buffet of cookies because you've survived the disastrous socialist economy up there. Explain what the economic climate is like up there in Edmonton.
The best way to explain it would be maybe if the people of Texas would understand is if all of a sudden your government decided that you weren't going to build any pipelines to ship oil, even though Texas is completely dependent on oil. Mm-hmm. Alberta is pretty much the same sort of economy, and our government has decided that we don't need pipelines anymore.
So, talk to me. Who made that decision?
Mr. Trudeau, the T-shirt that Jason Beasley is wearing.
He's now burning it.
That's true.
Now, again, would you describe your economy now as is it known as socialism? Is that what they're calling it? Are they officially calling it socialism up there?
I don't know if they officially call it socialism, but I would certainly classify it as socialism for sure. So.
And has it turned out to be a good thing? Would you like socialism?
No, I think pretty much the majority of Western Canada, it feels very alienated with the socialistic practices that have been enforced on us from Eastern Canada.
So how could you see socialism deteriorating your economy? I mean, what are practical examples where you go, man, socialism is really getting us?
I think it would be, when we look at the choices that are made, from the left at some point, or just completely disregard, the importance of industry and the importance of business overall. And we've seen an extraordinary amount of businesses actually just, leave. They actually just closed up shop and moved jurisdictions. So, people forget that, what happens when you go after businesses, they'll simply stop working, or they'll engage in tax planning, or they will just simply leave to another jurisdiction. And we've seen, a great exodus of businesses in Western Canada.
Okay, so you have fought the good fight. You're up there listening to Bryan Adams while listening to your, it's like a Bryan Adams, Justin Bieber mix while sipping on Molson, fighting the good fight. Are the Mounties helping you to be successful? How much of your success would you credit to the Mounties?
I'm going to credit, maybe like 0.0001%
Okay.
to the Mounties.
Okay, so now let's talk about the importance of knowing your numbers, my friend. Josh, we have a lot of listeners who, for whatever reason, don't like tracking their numbers.
Yeah, that's the importance. So let's break down some numbers for business owners that, really business owners will work 63% more hours than regular employees. And unfortunately, 61% of the time, business owners are probably making less than employees in their industry. And this leads to the fact that 9 out of 10 businesses will fail. And Clay, you point out this stat over and over again, and it's very, very true. And when you dissect these failed businesses, you'll find that 29% of the time, these failed business owners will list that they simply ran out of cash. And that makes it the second most common reason that businesses will go under, right behind not having enough customers. And most people never really see what happens to these failed business owners. They just see the signs taken down at a location one day, and they think that situation is more like a video game. But, as my work as a CPA, I have to file the tax returns for these business owners for, at least a year or two after these businesses go under. And I see what actually happens to these business owners after they go out of business. And Clay, I can tell you the results they're actually pretty ugly. There's significant life savings that are lost, families break up, and significant mental health concerns, become the norm. So, not knowing your numbers has catastrophic consequences to most entrepreneurs.
You help your clients with accounting, which is cool. But you also help them a little bit more than just accounting. You don't do just accounting. Can you explain what you would do if you're sitting down with one of your clients who was refusing to track their numbers? I mean, how does that conversation go? Let's pretend for a moment that you're talking to one of your clients who's a newer client, and they just will not track their numbers. What kind of a coaching and mentorship do you provide people?
I mean, the most important thing that we're going to do is we're just going to set those appointments. We're going to block him into those appointments. So before a client leaves our office, we're usually going to set that very next appointment because that's the hardest thing that they're going to have trouble with, right? From there, we're going to actually, pretty much dissect their personal financial situation. We do what's called a financial plan for the business owners, and it's different than the financial plan that a regular investment advisor would give you. It's really specifically designed for an entrepreneur because the household finances are going to greatly affect the business owner. So we're going to dissect those personal financial circumstances for the business owner. And then we're going to, from there, once we understand what we have available to work with, then we're going to dive into a business plan for those business owners.
Okay, so if you're out there listening today, you own a business and you don't know your numbers, what's going to happen, Spurrell? What's going to happen if they don't know their numbers?
You're often just going to make poor choices. So, for example, you're going to decide to hire this employee, or you're going to decide to lay someone off, or buy a piece of equipment, or get into a lease that you can't afford, it's going to cause you to make decisions that are going to cause you to run out of cash. Again, which is the second most common reason why businesses are going to go under.
Okay, now I want to talk about this next idea. You have been doing this so long. You've been an accountant for so long. You've actually made a list of the 10 biggest mistakes that small business owners make with their accounting. You've kind of a reverse top 10 list here. This is like the bad 10. Walk us through your top 10 list of the biggest mistakes that most small business owners make with their accounting.
So let's go with number one. I kind of alluded to it already. The most common mistake I see is probably a mistake that's affecting every area of their business, and it's that they cannot keep appointments. And this includes keeping appointments with themselves and their accountant to review their numbers. My millionaire clients, they rarely miss appointments. But I had a client, for example, one of my millionaire clients, he was in the midst of selling his business for a 7-figure deal. And he was having some sort of kidney issue that was causing swelling all over his body. And he gets out of the hospital and shows up to my office looking like Rocky rather than, miss an appointment with his accountant. But mind you have broke clients who, they have come down with the sniffles, or they have every emergency that you can imagine that prevents them from, keeping appointments.
Oh, Jason, you know part of you wants to laugh right now because it is so true.
Well, part of me also wants to go, Adrian.
You've seen this, Breck. Breck, how many
absolutely.
sick days do you give yourself per year, Breck?
None. 0.
Interesting. So it's interesting, though, that some people want to be successful entrepreneurs. They want to be successful entrepreneurs, but they want to call in sick. They want to miss appointments. So if that's you.
It's that same drive that gave Josh the initiative to get a rental car and drive down from Minnesota here.
That's what I told John.
Yeah.
I said, John, because Spurrell wanted to work with me personally,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, I'll work with him. And John said, why? And I go, because he drove from Minnesota.
Yeah.
And John's like, 100% I agree with you, man.
He found a way. He made it happen. I mean, some people come up with solutions. Some people just complain.
We have a small city called Bixby,
Yes.
which is located 15 minutes away, Spurrell, from our conference center in Jinx.
Yep.
Totally true story. About 4 months ago, so 2 conferences ago, we had a guy who showed up about 45 minutes late to session 1. And after we only do 50-minute sessions and we take a break for 10 minutes. He comes up to me and he's like, dude, you're really hammering people for being late. And I didn't appreciate that because I live in Bixby. And I got a little bit lost, and it was like, and because the first session we talk about the uncoachable mindsets and we talk about the importance of honoring your commitments and being on time. It just so happened that he walked in during the part, Jason, you've seen this before.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing's more awkward than when a guy shows up late to a conference where we're teaching time management at 7:40 in the morning. I mean, it's brutal. And so he went off on this tangent about how I was being mean to him. And I said, what's your business background? And we start talking. He's failed at one business. He's failed at another. And I said, you probably just need to leave, man. This is like a full contact sport. This is like business football, and if you're worried about getting your feelings hurt, I mean, this is not the place for you. So let's talk about the biggest mistake number 2, Josh Spurrell.
So the biggest mistake number 2 is a pretty simple one, but just not having separate business and personal accounts. It's just going to make your life more complex. It's going to create more errors. And in my experience, that it causes you to lose credibility with any government auditor. Any transaction that could go either way. If you haven't demonstrated the discipline to separate your business and personal accounts, again, you'll just lose credibility with any audit sort of procedure.
Okay, so let's move on to dysfunction number 3.
Dysfunction number 3, I'm going to break the hearts of all the software providers because they will, vehemently disagree with me on this one, but it's using accounting software too early. So if you're a solopreneur, all you need to do is keep separate business accounts. Print your statements out once a month, review them, make notes on them, hand those statements into your accountant at the end of the year. And if you don't have enough work yet to hire your first employee, you need to be spending more time selling rather than learning QuickBooks. Have you,
Jason, have you ever had a meeting where you've worked with a client and they discovered they had no money? Has this ever happened to you?
Yeah, and it's awkward.
So let me give you an example of the worst situation I've ever seen, Spurrell. I was working with a cosmetic surgeon years ago, and this guy was doing about as much revenue as you're doing, okay? I mean, we're talking, he was doing well, right?
Yeah.
And he had just bought himself a new house. He doing well. Luxury car.
Mm-hmm.
Leads coming in. And his card got declined for the monthly charge. And I said, hey, man, maybe we need to get a different card on file. Maybe the card expired. And he goes, okay. So he gives me, he sends me back, hey, you use this card. Doesn't go through. And you could sense kind of a panic in his voice. And I said, what's going on? He's like, I don't know. So his assistant, who I worked very closely with, he tasked her with figuring out where the bank statement was. No exaggeration. Homeboy was owed over $500,000 from insurance companies.
Mm-hmm.
But in his accounting system, he was using accrual-based accounting, Josh, where he was factoring in his lifestyle based upon how much money. Can you explain the difference between cash-based accounting and accrual? Because this guy thought he had about $500,000 in his bank account, and he had like $500 in his account. And I had to point out to him this was bad because he used his numbers to get a bank loan for a big house. And he found out that he didn't mean to, but he had actually lied to the lenders because he told them he had a cash balance of this much, but he actually had a cash balance of this much. Explain what the difference is between accrual and cash-based and how people can screw up that kind of accounting.
Well, if you're, for example, let's talk about a revenue transaction. So if you're looking straight on the bank statement, you're not going to count it in a cash-based system until that deposit hits the bank statement. But in an accrual system, you're going to book the receivable. That income is going to show up on your profit and loss, and things look great, but it kind of disregards the fact that was that actual revenue collected or even collectible, period.
Okay, what is our next dysfunction, my friend?
So it kind of goes hand in hand with that example you're just talking about. Is once you have employees not hiring an accountant or a professional bookkeeper to help them during the year, the software companies make you think that the programs are easy to learn, but that's a lie. They just want to sell you the program. I hired university graduates with 4-year degrees, and I would estimate it takes a minimum of a year working with me full time before I'm somewhat happy with their level of competency. But yet we get these business owners who, think they can learn accounting, or their spouse can learn accounting in a weekend. I mean, it's not uncommon for us to get a business owner who has a spouse who quits their job, bringing in $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month into the house to quote unquote do the books. Then we take a look at the work they're doing, and we have to tell them that, we can do a better job for $200 to $300 a month.
Oh boy, those are fighting words right there.
Yeah,
I see this all the time. I see it where it's the husband of the entrepreneur quits his job to quote unquote help do the books,
and he doesn't want to do the books.
And the one thing he doesn't do is the books, which creates all of the problems. So it'd be better just for your spouse to keep that job, or to just pay him $3,000 a month to do nothing.
Stay away.
And hire an accounting firm. So let's talk about this now. Move number 4. What's the fourth dysfunction?
I believe that was 4. So I think we're on to 5.
Oh, number 5. We're on to number 5 here. Okay. So what's dysfunction number 5 that's just in?
So dysfunction number 5 is not reconciling all those accounts. Going back to your surgeon there, who didn't realize how much money you had in his account, but you've got to reconcile those accounts in the software. And you should be reconciling them each and every time you do payroll. So I see people that are reconciling accounts at different times that they're running payroll, and that makes no sense to me whatsoever. You want to reconcile your accounts before you run payroll to make sure you actually have enough money to meet the payroll. Let's start there. And so if you're paying people weekly, you need to reconcile the accounts weekly or biweekly. At a minimum biweekly if you're paying people biweekly.
You are dropping some serious knowledge bombs. What's the next dysfunction?
So once you have employees, so you have this accounting software working, you need to be reviewing a 6-month comparative balance sheet. And you should be looking at this balance sheet before you look at your profit and loss statement. Business owners, they always want to look at their profit and loss, but unfortunately the mistakes they're usually hiding on the balance sheet, and they're obvious. Once you review that balance sheet, you start to gain a level of comfort with that balance sheet. You're going to start to identify these anomalies, and if you see these anomalies, you know that the profit and loss that you could be using to make significant business decisions, could be completely out of whack.
Well, and Josh, I would assume you can also see those trends much earlier.
You can, yeah. Those comparative numbers. People are looking at these balance sheets. Just one balance sheet, 1 month, one moment in time. It's very, very difficult to see the anomalies. But if you look at a 6-month comparative balance sheet and they have 6 months worth of numbers and 6 totals, you start to see those anomalies. You don't have to be a CPA to see them. They start to become obvious.
What is our next dysfunction, my friend?
So the next dysfunction is the same thing where we looked at the balance sheet 6-month comparative. We should also look at the income statement. We're talking about interim financial statements. So this is the financial statements that are coming out of your QuickBooks software. We should be looking at a 6-month comparative profit and loss statement, because we don't have the same level of due diligence that goes into interim financial statements, whether you're doing them yourself or even if you're having an accountant help you with them. Year-end statements get a whole heap of extra due diligence in their work done to make sure the information is correct. But interim financial statements don't have that. So by having a 6-month comparative profit and loss statement, you'll be able to recognize the anomalies yourself and start to understand if this information is accurate enough to make major business decisions on.
Okay. So now, if I'm listening here, and I don't like this, I'm saying I don't like it. I mean, this is all. I mean, we're talking about accounting, and I'm going, I'm like, come on, really? I mean, I'm talking about business here, because I think a lot of people view business as just offense. They go, let's talk about vision. Let's talk about marketing. Let's talk about sales, vision, marketing, sales, vision, marketing, sales, entrepreneurship. Woo! Vision, your purpose. B, find your why. Find your B. Don't be a B player. Be an A player. Find your why. Woo! Breck, you've seen this.
Oh yeah.
People view when they talk about entrepreneurship. Jason.
Yep.
Do you have a lot of your clients that want a hard charge into accounting? They're like, hey, let's start off this meeting by. First off, let's grab a beer, then let's talk about accounting. I mean, do people get really fired up about accounting?
Like I said, out of my 20 clients, I have 2 where they immediately want to talk about their accounting so they can get it out of the way. Everybody else is just like, yeah, so about that logo update that we were talking about.
So people want to hide behind logo updates and branding and marketing pieces and not talk about accounting.
Every time.
But again, if we're playing football, you got offense, you got defense, and you got special teams. So the way I look at it is offense is marketing and sales and branding. Defense is accounting and legal compliance. And special teams is that special service or product that you provide. That's the product or service you provide. That's the special teams. Josh, why do people want to avoid accounting so much? What is it?
It's complicated, and I think a lot of times they make it overly complicated. And it's like anything else. When things aren't going so well, they want to stick their head in the sand and pretend nothing's wrong.
So let's talk about dysfunction. Our next dysfunction, my friend. What number are we on? Are we on number 8?
Number eight.
Oh yeah.
So and this will help. This number 8 is going to help the client who doesn't want to deal with their accounting. But most clients, they come to us and they have way too many accounts on their chart of accounts. They have a profit and loss statement that's 2, 3, 4, 5 pages long. And the more accounts that you have, the more costly it is to maintain the accounting records. And, the more time you're going to have to spend reviewing these records in order to make business decisions. And most people just keep adding these accounts, and all it ends up with is extensive classification errors. For example, let's say someone buys ink one year, and one year they classify that ink as ink expense, and the next year they classify it as an office supplies. And then you end up with these variances period over period, month over month, year over year. And you think that they're variances, but in all reality, they're just classification differences.
Breck, you're in the process of buying a building.
Yes.
When you went to buy a building, did they just let you get a loan to buy a building without looking at your financials, or does somebody have to look at your financials?
Someone has to look at your financials. Yeah.
You mean they just won't go in there and fist bump you?
No, they don't just hand you money on a smile and a wink.
Now, I'm sure, Josh, you've never seen this before, but I think a lot of entrepreneurs never want to do accounting until they have to.
Yeah.
They want to sell their company. and now they have to look at the numbers for the first time in a decade. They want to buy a building, and now they have to look at the numbers for the first time in a decade. They want to get a mortgage, so they have to look at the numbers for the first time in a decade. Can you talk about if somebody was your client, can you work with American clients, or do you just work with Canadian clients?
Well, we can work with American clients on the bookkeeping end, but not on the tax end.
Why not?
The bookkeeping end is
Why
very
not?
similar.
Why not?
Well, I'm at this point very proficient in Canadian tax, but trying to know, it's like anything. You can do something really well, or you can do a lot of things just okay. So I'm really good at the Canadian tax end.
Why don't you move down here?
Well, if they keep not building pipelines, we might have another discussion on that.
Listen. You said that you're proficient in the Canadian accounting, and you're not proficient in the American accounting, and that is is that your reason for not coming down here for doing the taxes of Americans? So if people want to hire you, you won't take them on right now. You will not do it.
We can do bookkeeping for U.S. clients, but we wouldn't be able to look at their taxation issues for American clients.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
So bookkeeping, so the regular interim financial reports, a business owner hires a bookkeeper, and then usually they pass it off to an accountant at year-end who can do the year-end taxes.
So there's not a chance. You will not take anybody who wants to be there's Americans right now who are dissatisfied with their accountants. Breck, have you ever had a bad accountant?
I have, yes.
So in preparation, Josh, you are trying to fill our minds with excuses saying that you don't want to take our American money. So what I'm going to do is I have been practicing the Canadian national anthem. And I'm going to cue it up, and I'm going to sing along, and I'm willing to. I was willing to invest the time needed to learn this incredible song. And you are not willing to learn our tax code. That's a bunch of crap, because your song is about 1 minute and 27 seconds long, right? And I have taken the at least 10 to 15 minutes to learn your song, and you will not take even the thousands of hours needed to learn our thousands of pages of tax code. And I call that as crap. So let me cue up your anthem here. Let me cue this up. I've got it. Let me get it here. Let me try it. This is a State Farm commercial, which is not
like your house.
the Canadian national anthem. Just to clear up any
right
confusion there. I know some people think that State Farm is very influential up there. Let me cue it up here.
They're also red and white.
Yeah, the red and white theme, yes. It could be. Here we go.
Please remain standing for the singing of O Canada, led by Universal Music, multi-platinum selling recording artists, Clifton, Fraser, and Victor, the Tenors.
Now, real quick, is the Tenors a vocal group that matters up in Canada?
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea who
What?
they are.
You've never heard of the Canadian Tenors? You're from Canada. Come on.
Real quick, Josh is absolutely full of crap up there. Let me tell you what. The next election, Drake will be the president, and the Tenors will be the vice president. You have a prime minister, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, former drama teacher.
Okay, let me hit. Well, he's done a great job creating drama. Here we go. Come on, Spurrell, you're moving here. True patriot. I'm adding some cowbell there. Thou dost in us command. Uh-oh. He's changing it up. Crap. Justin Bieber. No pipelines. We don't have enough money for a military. We love Drake and Bieber. We borrowed Kauai for a season. Then he went to warm weather to flee. Oh, here we go, Spurrell. Oh, wow. Oh, he's taking it home. Yes. Need more cowbell on track. He's coming down to America, folks. We've sold him. He's coming down to America. Spurrell, welcome. When are you? Oh, the tenors. We did it. We did that for you. So when are you coming down here?
I appreciate. So I can guarantee you that I will devote at least 1 minute and 27 seconds to learning U.S.
All right. So what is the next dysfunction?
So now you have this, well-organized chart of accounts that have profit and loss statement. You can stick it on one page.
Yep.
But now you got to take that profit and loss statement and order it in numerically descending order. A lot of accountants will order things in alphabetical order, but you should order it in numerical descending order, because most businesses, they're going to be won and lost in their revenue, cost of product sold, direct labor, rent, and admin labor accounts. Most of the other accounts are about optimization. They're not going to be the difference between winning and losing. Yet you're going to find the business owners, they're not generating any sales. They're not making any money off of each new transaction. And they're spending an inordinate amount of time on trying to minimize their phone bill or reducing their interest and bank charges. And then I got to sit with them in a meeting and tell them, hey, look, the phone company could pay you $1,000 a month. You're still going out of business.
I agree, but let me hammer home why. As an example, for my business, for my life, for what I do, my biggest expense is labor. And that's going to hover for most of my companies. I like to keep that around 35%. All right?
Yep.
So I just looked at the numbers last week, and for one company, we hit 38%. It went up. Well, what happened is that I'm not sure what happens up there in Canada, but in America, during the month of December, a lot of entrepreneurs are trying to find, write-offs. So they'll ask me, they're like, hey, can you guys write 500 pages of content for my website this month? And so we have a lot more labor-intensive activities being ramrodded through the final month of the year. So when it went up, my wife said, hey, it went up 3%. I wasn't scared because I was aware of the trend within the business.
Right.
But she pointed out to me, hey, it did go up 3%. And I said, well, that's because that's a service we're doing that's labor-based. She goes, okay, cool, I just wanted you to know. But if you don't have that as your labor's at the top, and let's say your second biggest expense is your office space or your rent or something. If you're not aware of those things, you will spend all your time on whatever you see first on the statement.
Right.
So I see people all the time who are beating up their vendors over a $1,000 charge when their biggest issue is their labor. So that is powerful. Now, I think you have one final dysfunction we want to hit here. This is dysfunction number 10. And what famous Canadian would you like to dedicate this to?
The famous Canadian that we're going to dedicate it to, maybe it's our old Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, when we had an economist as the Prime Minister rather than a drama teacher. We'll donate. We'll give it to him.
Does the average person up there, is over half the population in favor of socialism up there? What percentage of the Canadian population is a jackass?
Well, the current government in power actually lost the popular vote in the last election. So they were not actually the most popular party, but it's it's based on the riding system. So if you win enough of the ridings, you're in power regardless of the popular vote.
Okay. All right. Okay. So number 10. What is the 10 the final dysfunction here?
So it's thinking that minimizing your advertising expenses is a good idea. We found that anything less than 2% of revenue will more often than not result in a contraction of revenue year over year. And this is 2% of revenue on real advertising expenses like Google ads, ad roll retargeting, YouTube ads, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn advertising. This isn't the wine of the month club or sponsoring a kid's soccer team. This is real advertising expenses, at least 2% of your revenue. This is not where you should be pinching pennies.
Michael Levine, the former PR consultant of choice for Nike, for Prince, for Michael Jackson, for Pizza Hut, big brands, he talks about how aggressive growth companies spend 10% of their revenue on marketing and advertising, and companies that just don't want to shrink need to spend at least 2 to 5%. So you're in the same conversation here. Now, we have a question from a listener, Josh, who's from Russia, and I'd like Jason to read the question. He is from Russia, and he wrote us via email. And so, Jason, could you read the email?
Yeah. Wait, the revised or the actual email?
Read the actual email.
Okay.
And then you can kind of break it down so I get it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So he says, first of all, if there were a chance, tell Clay that his podcast helps me to chin up like TD Jakes.
Wait a second. You're doing this crap where you're not using your Russian accent. You have to use the Russian accent.
Thought about it.
You have the ability to do it, and it's getting better with each time. So please, like a fine wine, he gets better over time. So please try to read your stereotypical Russian accent, please.
All right, Daniil, I apologize in advance.
Okay.
First of all, if there were a chance, tell Clay that his podcast helps me to chin up like TD Jakes does for him. I'm a humble student from Yekaterinburg, Russia.
Sure, sounds right.
But striving to achieve my goals. Got up today at 5 a.m., so can't send a high five message as don't live in USA. Tell him if possible also. Start here and Jackassery were miraculous. That's why I found out time to read this one. And probably would read Search Engine Domination as very interested in it, but can't fathom it during podcast. So he was saying, first of all, if it's possible, tell Clay that his podcast helps me to get motivated, much like TD Jakes does for him.
Cool. That's awesome. And what's his name again?
His name is Daniil.
Daniil, I appreciate you saying that. I'm glad that you have suffered through 2 of my books, Start Here and Jackassery.
Yeah.
Many people all around the country, all around the world actually, are buying that book. Spurrell, have you read Jackassery or Start Here?
I've read, both of them, actually.
Which one did you like the best and why?
I like to Start Here. It's pretty comprehensive.
Did you laugh when you read
It's got a lot of-
Jackassery?
What's that, sorry?
Did you laugh when you read Jackassery? Did it make you laugh?
Yeah, there's some good stories in there.
But Start Here is your favorite one.
Start Here has a huge amount of content from a lot of resources. I think it is kind of an all-encompassing book that you designed it to be.
Okay, let's continue. So, Jason, continue reading.
Oh, okay, and then he says, just breaking it down, he is a humble student in Russia, and he's striving to achieve his goals. He got up at 5 a.m., and he wanted to, I believe this is a callback to one of your previous episodes where you said if you wake up early, you'd send people a virtual high five.
Yeah, do it. If you wake up at 5, okay, what you want to do, get up at 5 and then tweet at me. It's a Twitter. It's Twitter /the Clay Clark. Just tweet at me. High five at 5 a.m. You got to get that going.
I want to give him extra props because 5 a.m. in Russia is like, I don't know, 1 o'clock here. Or like, 8 o'clock p.m. the day before.
Yeah, he's almost in the future.
Yeah. He is in the future. Now, what's the next portion of his email?
Let's see. So he's breaking down how much he loves the books, and he's interested in search engine domination to read next, but it's something he can't quite fathom yet.
Yep.
And then, okay, so going back to the accent. Again, Daniil, I apologize.
No, Daniil, I did not apologize. This is how we think you sound. Yeah. And then if you guys, I would like for Daniil to record a show where Daniil, get out your phone and record. I want you to imitate Americans. And you send me that audio, and I'll play it on the show. Because I know that there's
awesome.
I would love, because everybody can imitate Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like everyone has their own Arnold. Even if it's not
mean?
Exactly. Everybody can go. Everyone can say, "You got to pump it up. You got to move your body." We all can kind of do that, but he can't imitate the average American. Because if he did, as governor, he might want to. He struggles still to say the word California.
That's true.
The governor of California. Anyway, continue, Jason.
All right. In the previous message, you told me that it's possible to ask a question for Ask Clay Anything category, and maybe Clay will answer it. So I have read books of Seth Godin, Purple Cow, Unleash, Idea Virus, Bootstraps, Permission Marketing, Stop Stealing Dreams, and he preaches that cold calling and stuff like this is useless. But Clay vouches that it's essential. Can't disagree with Clay. I like that he put that in parentheses.
Okay, so let's do this real quick. Spurrell, how did you go out and get your first 10 clients?
Well, let's break down the cold calling. So, my first business was a construction business, and it looked like opening up the phone book and calling people. So, in terms of cold calling, I think it's still a viable option. On the accounting practice, it was more going to networking events, gathering the cards, immediately calling them up and booking out the consults. So,
now let's talk about this for a second, and I want to make sure that I'm not attacking Seth Godin, who is so we appreciate him being on the show, and I love his books.
Yeah.
What happens is you are. This is Daniil how I would explain it. Imagine that you have a tool. You're like a handyman, and you have a bunch of tools, and you've got a hammer, and a screwdriver, and a tape measure. And so you got a hammer, screwdriver, and tape measure. For certain jobs, a hammer is needed. For certain tasks, a hammer is needed. For certain tasks, a screwdriver is needed. So if you said, Clavis, I need you to screw in this outlet. The screw came loose on the outlet. Can you screw it in? And I go, yep, let me get my hammer. And you're like, I don't think that's going to go well. And I poof, 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 and I break it. That's not a move.
Right.
But if you said, could you screw this in? I got a screwdriver. That makes sense. So Seth Godin, a lot of what he teaches is cold calling maybe isn't applicable for certain things he's referencing. But I can tell you Redmond Growth is a company that is built entirely based upon word of mouth and cold calling. The entire organization, Redmond Growth, is built based upon word of mouth and cold calling. I can say Elephant in the Room is not based on cold calling.
No,
but we started with cold calling, and now as we're going into Oklahoma City and expanding, we are doing more cold calling as well. We're just calling random people in Oklahoma City and giving them free haircuts.
From the phone book.
And we're still doing it now. So I would just say, let's not get hung up on Seth Godin says, don't make cold calls. Clay Clark does. I would just say, Seth Godin and Clay Clark each teach you tools. And because I've been coaching clients now since really 2008, 9, and now we're 2020, I've been doing this for 11 years, and I don't think Seth Godin has worked with 160 simultaneous clients, whereas he's worked with different industries and different niches. So I think his experience is different. Breck, how did you go out there and get your first 10 clients?
So mine was a little bit more like Josh as he's talking about the accounting practice. It was more of warm calling. So doing some networking, getting some cards, and then having to follow up, in a sense, sort of like cold calling, but I call it warm calling. So you have a little bit of a connection. Maybe it's a friend of a friend or some kind of, so many degrees of separation, but you're still having to kind of go out there and work. But, I would say chiropractic as a rule is probably not the best industry for cold calling, but there are definitely some that's going to be a bigger factor depending on what you're doing. Some people don't know that they need your service, and so cold calling may be the very thing that helps get them in the door.
So, again, if you're out there, Daniil, and you're asking, should I make cold calls or not, each industry is different. Jason, can you think of one of your clients right now that doesn't make cold calls at all and is very successful and does not make cold calls ever?
So I work with a garage in Massachusetts, and they don't do cold calls at all.
Angels Touch Auto Body Repair. People seek them.
Yep.
People Google them when they are looking for automotive repair. Whereas most people are not looking for – Josh, why are most people not actually out there looking typically for an accountant? Why are they just – why do most people just stick with their same accountant? Even if the relationship's dysfunctional, why do most people stick with their accountant?
It's a hassle to change, really. So it's a lot of work to change.
So I love cold calling for accountants because you call and you get a hold of the small business owner and you say, this is a script. I'll cold call you, Jason, okay?
All right.
Let's pretend that you own a roofing company.
Cool.
Hey, is this Jason?
It is. Who is this?
Jason, this is Clay Clark with Spurrell CPA's America, the real edition, where we spent thousands of hours learning the American tax code. And so we moved here. We actually used to be in Canada. Are you familiar with our American accounting practice?
No, but that sounds impressive.
Hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, seriously, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, how highly would you rank your current accounting firm in terms of their quality, accuracy, your happiness with them?
I'd say a 3.
3?
Yeah.
What does a 10 look like in your mind?
Well, I mean, my current guy doesn't really meet me regularly. I'm very confused by the time we get done with it. So somebody who kind of just walks me through what all of these things mean and how I can get a better grasp of my accounting.
Well, I have a thing right now called the $100 guarantee. It's I'm going to meet you for 1 hour.
Okay.
I'm going to pay you $100 for the first meeting, and I guarantee you I'll save you at least $100 a month on your taxes. Yeah. Would you like to meet for an hour? I'll pay you. I'll give you $100 cash when I get there, and I'll meet you for an hour, and I will find where I can save you at least $100 a month.
I would be an idiot not to accept that.
Spurrell, don't you think almost if anybody out there who's listening from Canada reached out to you, you could save them at least $100 a month within just 1 hour of meeting with them?
Most of the time, people have very poor tax planning. So most of the time, you would find at least $100 a month in savings.
That's the kind of pitch that works.
Yeah,
so
right.
That pitch works very well for that industry. Now, if you're out there listening today and you want to learn more about Josh Spurrell, Josh, are you going to offer our guests anything, or is there a place people can go to learn more about you, or what is the action step that you would request from our 500,000 listeners?
I mean, the 500,000 listeners, if you want the advice that we have, we could probably, direct you to our YouTube channel. So Spurrell and Associates, I think we got over 160 videos up there now, which is good quality business information. Whether you're in the U.S. or Canada, they both work. Or on the website would be spurrell.ca.
Awesome. Well, I tell you what, if you're listening right now from Russia, I appreciate you, and I want you to know that Rocky IV was the best Rocky out there. And, just because Ivan Drago, one of the main characters in that movie, killed our Apollo, it doesn't mean we're bitter.
No, not bitter. Still sad, just not bitter.
And just because I personally don't like Putin, it doesn't mean I don't like you, Daniil. So I think you're a great future American. Spurrell, you keep up the fight up there, my friend, and may the pipeline be opened in the future. Is there any chance at all of them allowing oil production to happen again?
They're saying they're going to build this pipeline, but it's been years in the making. But we'll see.
The pipeline could actually be built though, like in 6 months, right? But it just takes years of bureaucracy to get through it.
Years of bureaucracy. Yep.
Oh man. Well, Spurrell, I appreciate you so much. Hope you have fun. And you said you're in Vancouver, right?
Vancouver right now. Yep.
And educate our listeners. Where is that in relationship to, let's say, New York?
Vancouver is just kind of right above Seattle.
Okay, so really. Far west Canada. And then where's Edmonton as it relates to, let's say, New York?
Well, think of Montana and then drive north from the Montana border for about 8 to 10 hours, and that's Edmonton. It's the most northerly city in North America with more than 1 million people.
How many people live up there?
Edmonton, there's just over a million, 1.3 in the greater Edmonton area, so similar size to Tulsa.
And don't you homies have the biggest mall in the world up there?
I think it's slightly smaller than the Mall of America now. I think you guys just looked at it and thought, we don't want to lose these Canadians, so built an extra wing on or something like that. But yeah, it's pretty much one of the biggest malls in North America.
We are a competitive bunch.
Hey, are you aware? Yeah. Are you aware how cold it is up there? I mean, are you aware, or is your body unable to process cold weather?
I'm kind of a polar bear. Doesn't bother me at all, actually.
What was the coldest temperature this year that you can remember, and how many years of your life have you played hockey?
The coldest temperature this year. So I mean, global warming. I guess it is a thing. We can see it, and I'm continually idling my vehicle to try to accelerate the process a little bit. But I think that this year it was only about. I think we maybe had minus 25 or something like that.
That's not so bad.
I've seen what minus 50 looks like. Let's put it that way.
How many years of your life have you played hockey? I'm just breaking down stereotypes real quick before I let you go.
Breaking down stereotypes. So I guess maybe the first 23 years of my life, I played serious hockey. So that stereotype's going to hold true here on that one.
Give me one stereotype or two stereotypes, and I'll let you go, that most Canadians believe about Americans. That might be true, but just stereotypes where we go, because we assume you love Bieber, you love Drake, you all play hockey, you
What's
love Molson.
What's your favorite maple syrup?
Oh, see, exactly. So what's the stereotype that you guys all have about Americans?
That we have about Americans?
Yeah, that
Americans think that we live in igloos, I think would be the stereotype.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you so much, my friend. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon.
You too, guys. Thanks very much.
See you, boss.
Take care.
Bye.
On today's very special edition of the Thrive Time Show, Clay's takes calls from the Uncoachables. Will he be able to teach the Uncoachables how to optimize a website, how to implement a sales system, how to hire people, how to do accounting, how to organize their schedules, how to create and manage a to-do list, how to manage a meeting, how to fix their branding, and overall, how to grow a business?
All right, we now have an all-star lineup of people that will be calling into the show. We have some people in the studio here. We've got a lot of people. We have dozens of people, dozens of questions, and here we go. That is the word you should have been saying. Plethora is a great descriptive for this. Thank you for that early interruption. However, we're not yet to the part of the show where I'm going to introduce you. So back to the monologue. Okay. It's going to be a laser show here today as we try to teach the uncoachables how to grow a successful company. Yes. It's a show where I don't know that we can teach the uncoachables how to grow a successful company, but we're going to try. So, Mr. Ladies Man, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir? Yes. Now, so what had happened was I was online looking for some things, and I found your thing, and I was like, this is offensive, because it's like cause and effect, and if you don't do this, you don't get that. And so I registered a complaint, and then you called me to resolve it, and I wasn't looking to have the problem solved. I was just looking to air my grievances. Okay. Right? I just want to be heard, you know what I'm saying? Okay, well, we'll start right now. We'll start by attempting to teach you how to get to the top of the Google search engine results. Does that sound fair? Yes, that sounds civil and very sexy. So, you have a flower shop, and you want to get your flower shop to the top of the Google search engine results. Am I correct? Yes, that's what we talked about. So, in order to get to the top of the Google search engine results, what you have to do is there are four variables. There are four variables that impact your Google search engine rank. There are four. Yes, now this is a fun fact for all your listeners out there. They're going to love this. The fabulous word for means cuatro in Spanish. How could that possibly be helpful? I love hitting that button. Can we move on? That button is what I love to hit. Now, the first variable is, one, your website has to be canonically compliant. Who this is? Am I talking to Google right now? Because I know that myself and my friend self, we spent hours up on Squarespace doing all this editing and all this stuff, and it is compliant to myself. Well, just because you built it yourself doesn't mean that the website is actually going to score well. Well, let me tell you something there real quick here, Mr. Clavis. My site looks beautiful, and my friend, he built that website, and it looks so nice. And there was no way it could possibly be wrong because I built it myself. I spent so much time on that. Mr. Ladies Man, just because your friend built the website and spent a lot of time on it, it doesn't mean that the site actually adheres to Google's canonical compliance rules. You is a very bad person. And I'll tell you this. I read a blog on LinkedIn the other day, and it was telling me that Google has changed. Really? And because I read just like half of that article. I didn't read the whole thing now. Sure. I read half of that article. Because I read half of that article, right, I will tell you this. Google has changed and you is wrong. And because I spent all my time on it, sure, I get so emotional. Meanwhile, and everybody, if you go to thebestseobook.com, thebestseobook.com, if you go there, you can download right now at thebestseobook.com, you can download a free copy of my newest book there called Search Engine Domination. Now, that particular book, in Chapter 2 of that book, it breaks down all the specific steps. It breaks down the entire checklist of what it means to be canonically compliant. Now, step number 2 is you have to be mobily compliant. Your website has to be mobily compliant. Has to be compliant as it relates to Google's mobile compliance standards. Now, third, your website has to have the most objective reviews of any website. Yes, your website has to have the most objective reviews. Now, again, the most objective reviews. You have to get real reviews from your real customers. All right, that's what you have to do. And number 4, you have to have the most original content. You have the most original content if you do, in fact, want to rank at the top of the Google search engine results. So, Mr. Ladies Man, what questions do you have about how to optimize your website so that your floral shop will be top in the Google search results in your city? So here's the deal. This is the first disclaimer. I've been listening to this show for a long time. Good deal. And I have tried to get myself some Google reviews, but the problem is most people will not leave me a review when I send them the email. So that is a problem right there. So what you say about that, Mr. Clay Clark, Mr. Business Coach, Mr. I Know Everything? Well, I will say this because I talk about it on the show often, but I don't think people you watch yourself understand the profundity of the statement. When you're out there trying to get an objective Google review from a client, they're not going to give it to you if you ask them via email. What? They're just not going to. It just goes against human nature. People are not going to leave you a review because you send them an email. No way. First off, the average person has thousands and thousands of emails in their inbox. 2, the average person doesn't tend to respond to most emails. So you have a lot of things going against you. So if you want to get a Google review, you have to ask your real customers who are really happy with you if they would be willing to leave an objective review at the point of purchase or sometime when they are actually interacting with you face-to-face or over the phone. It's very imperative that you ask actual people. Yes, but I got this new app, and this new app sends people a reminder of via email and the text messages, and I'm going to do that instead because I don't like rejection. It seems like I just don't like to be told no, and I don't like the rejection, and so that's just what I'm going to do. Then that's why you're going to lose. You have to actually ask people in front of you at the point of purchase to leave you a review or over the phone. You have to do it. You have to be proactive about getting Google reviews. Every single day, you're going to have to eat something or you will die, right? Right? Okay. Yes. That's called being reactive. We have to eat something every day just to survive. Okay, I'll go with you. I'll go with you that. As it relates to Google reviews, you have to getting a Google review for your business is like breathing air or eating for the human condition. You have to eat and breathe to survive. Okay, that makes sense. If you want to survive as a business owner and or thrive, you have to get an objective Google review from your real clients, at least one a day, every day. You have to do it. You have to. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. I get it there. I testify. That makes sense. I feel like I have moved to a new level. I am going to go out there and get myself some reviews every single day. It doesn't matter what is going on. I'm going to get myself a Google review because I know that getting a Google review is what is best for my business body. It's best for my business itself and myself and just everybody's self. I just want to take a selfie right now and just hashtag that. I'm going to put hashtag awesome. Hashtag on my grind because this is awesome. Yes, this is good, Mr. Clavis. You is nice. And I appreciate that, but it's not about a feeling. It's about a commitment to being consistent. You have to get a Google review every day from your ideal and likely buyers. Now, let's move on to writing content. You've got to add at least one page of content to your website 6 days a week. You got to add at least 24 pages of content to your website every single month. Who this is? Why? Well, because Google checks for the freshness. Yes, I'll give you some freshness. Yeah, I'll give you some freshness right now, Clavis, if that's what you want. I don't know what you think I'm talking about. I don't know what you think I'm talking about. But what I'm going to say is I'm going to read to you. I'll put on the show notes. I'm going to read to you an excerpt from Google itself. And Google is talking about how the actual page is called How Search Organizes Information. Organizing information by indexing. This is from google.com itself. When crawlers find a website, our system renders the content of the page just as a browser does. We take note of key signals from keywords to website freshness, and we keep track of all of it in the search index. So you were saying that Google knows if I add content to my website or not? That's what you're saying? So if you're saying that to get to the top of the Google search results and to make as much money as possible for my floral business, I've got to add at least 24 pages of content per month? If I can do that, I can add 24 pages to my website every month. I'm going to do it every month. I feel like adding content to my website every month, and I'm going to do it. I have been healed, and I testify. I have been healed, and I'll testify right now. I'm going to. Yes, you can put that on the good book. You can put that on the bad book. You can write that down. Tell somebody. Slap three people next to you and tell them, the ladies' man is going to be writing at least 24 pages of content every single month. Well, and that's how you get to the top of Google, so it's a good thing for you. I'm glad that you've made that choice, and that is how you do it. Again, if you want to get to the top of the Google search engine results, you have to get an objective Google review every single day on your Google map. You have to do it. According to Forbes, over 90% of people read reviews. You've got to get reviews. Got to get reviews. Just like you have to eat every day as a human or breathe to survive, you've got to get the Google reviews. Second, you got to go out of your way. You have to do it. You have to add at least one page of content to your website 24 days per month. And so I'm so glad we've been able to help the ladies' man. And now we'll introduce our next guest onto the Thrive Time Show, George McBurnaby from the law firm of McBurnaby and Sons.
Well, Clavis, I'll start off by telling you I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal. And first off, as it relates to Google search engine optimization, I would be the first to ask, is it legal and is it ethical for a doctor, for a dentist, for a lawyer, for a professional to ask for Google reviews? I personally find it to be shady.
Okay, I'm assuming that was a question. What was the question?
Well, the question is this. Is it ethical for my clients to ask their clients for review, or should it happen more organically? Is it ethical to encourage people to leave a Google review? I mean, at the end of the day, Clavis, we got to answer to the maker.
So you're telling me that you would feel bad about asking for a Google review?
All the
time.
time.
Would feel bad? Is this a bad thing? It
Yes.
bothers you that you would have to ask for a Google review? Is that what you're saying? Is it
Yes.
unethical to ask? Well, I don't even understand the basis of your question.
Well, Clavis, the thing is this. My employees are not going to get Google reviews. They know they're supposed to, but I can't make them do it. I mean, I ask them to, but I can't make them do it. I mean, at the end of the day, you can't force your employees to do something, right? Because with the current law, I mean, you don't want to face an unemployment case, right?
No, you want to force your employees to do what they need to do. As long as what you're doing is legal, just hold them accountable. And if they will not get reviews from your ideal and likely buyers, then fire them.
Hey, now, you're talking about firing my own family. I mean, I've got family on my payroll that refuses to get Google reviews. Are you talking about firing your own brother? Your own brother-in-law, your own blood? I mean, Clavis, blood is thicker than water, right? I mean, you can't just fire your own family, right?
No, you've got to fire people that refuse to do what is required. Bottom line, if people will not do what is required, they must be fired. Period.
Oh.
Bottom line, that's how it works.
But they're my family, Clavis. I mean, blood is thicker than water, right? I mean, blood is thicker than water, right? Think about it. Blood is thicker than water.
Okay, if you're going to go the high ethics route, let's talk about Proverbs in the Bible. Proverbs, okay? Proverbs 13:20 from the Bible reads, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. What does that mean? What it means is that when you surround yourself with people who are jackasses, whether you're related to them or not, it's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt your life, hurt your business, hurt your success. You cannot surround yourself with people that are not willing to do what it takes. Bottom line. Look at the story of Abraham. He was asked to leave his town, leave his country, leave his family. The average person is wrong. And not just wrong about business. They're wrong about most things most of the time. Again, according to Forbes, only 9 out of 100 people ever start a company. But 9 out of 10 startups fail, which means that less than 1% of people are ever going to figure it out in the game of business. Ever. So don't ask feedback from the average person. If they won't get a Google review, fire them.
Well.
If they won't write content for your website,
calm down.
Fire them. But that is what has to happen. That is how it works.
You know, you start quoting facts and talking about how 75% of employees steal from the workplace, according to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. 85% of employees lie on their resumes. You come across as a negative person. I mean, Clavis, I'm involved in, I care about the community. I care about people. I don't hate people. That's why I can't fire people. Clavis.
Then you will never be successful. Bottom line, if you can't fire the people, if you're not willing to fire the people who are unwilling to do what is required to achieve that which you desire, you can't win. Just because your people won't get Google reviews or write content doesn't in any way, shape, or form change how Google works. That is how Google works. Please get out of here. You're wearing me out.
All right, but I want you to know that my team does their best. They just can't get Google reviews or write content, right?
No.
Right.
No.
Right.
No, you're 100% wrong. Get out of here. All right, Thrive Nation, our next guest here on today's show is a beautiful man from Essex, England, by the name of Harry Matherin. Harry, welcome onto the show. How are you, sir?
Well, Clavis, I'm doing very well.
However, I have a concern about your tone. It appears as in a lot of the shows you do, you focus on building a business that serves the owner, which would imply that the owner is more important than the people who work on the team, and it would cause people to believe that the goal of a business is not to build a community. It appears as though you believe that our business exists to make a good profit and to work with people you like and to make a product you're proud about. But at the end of the day, when you think about it, I mean, there are a lot of great people out there that maybe have a bad attitude that you could spend your day coaching. And you don't have to be super profitable. I mean, you could live at the same standards as everyone else.
You're right. I could. You're right. I could. And there's a great book I would encourage you to read called Start With Why.
Oh, I have read it. It's such a great book. It's really revolutionary and groundbreaking when you think about it.
By Simon Sinek. How great leaders inspire everyone to take action. How great leaders inspire everyone to take action. Well, I have found, having coached clients over the past 12 years and having worked with my partner to build now 16 multi-million-dollar companies, I have found that it's easier to just find people that have a good attitude, people who have a good attitude, who have great character, and teach them what to do. It's easier to hire character and then train skill. As it is, it's easier to do that as opposed to finding people that lack character and trying to teach them character. That's point number one. And point number two, why would you go through the personal hell needed to build a business if you don't build a business that will create time and financial freedom for you and your family?
Well, real quick, to quote Simon Sinek here, he says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And what you do simply proves that you believe it.
That is absolutely crap. Everybody today bought gasoline for their car. And they didn't buy gasoline for their car because of why the petroleum companies are doing it. I bought a Mac computer in the last 15 days. Why? Because it works better than personal computers created by the other PC companies. That's why I bought a Mac computer. I listen to hip-hop music that I enjoy because it is better. I don't buy it because of why they make it. That is jackassery. And that kind of worldview where you're going to somehow flip the purpose of the business and make the business exist to serve your people, that's jackassery. The inverted pyramid, that's jackassery. A business exists to serve the owner and to create both time and financial freedom for the owner. And if you view it differently, I disagree with you. And you're going to be traveling around all the time, flying, going to seminars, going to conferences, always seeking the new thing, the new purpose. Meanwhile, I am going to have time and financial freedom. While you're out there traveling around trying to find 27 new ways to motivate your employees, I am going to be enjoying both my time and financial freedom, doing whatever I want to do.
Well, Clavis, I'd like to interject for a second because Simon Sinek, in his great book called Start With Why, How Great Leaders Inspire Everyone to Take Action, he says there are only two ways to influence human behavior. You can manipulate it or you can inspire it. What say you?
Okay, an example of this, how I would disagree with that statement and that quote entirely is this. I hire a lot of great people. We have African Americans, we have Asian Americans, we have Caucasians, we have all different people, men and women who work for us. And I will tell you that the Mormons, as a general rule, work circles around the average person. Why? Because they come to work. They just get it done every single day. Why? I don't know. I mean, their faith doesn't allow them to drink caffeine or to drink alcohol. They come to work ready to go every day, and they're sharp. And I could spend my whole day trying to inspire it, or I could just hire Mormons. So when possible, I hire Mormons. Why? Because they're already inspired with the desire that is required to become successful. I don't need to tell them, all right, guys, make sure you stay sober this weekend. I don't have to encourage them to make good life choices. They just do it because it is part of their DNA. And if you have a team right now and the team is unwilling to do what you require them to do, you have to launch the group interview. You have to do the group interview. Every single week, you need to be interviewing a lot of candidates. And you have to fire people quickly who are not a good fit. If somebody is not a good fit, you have to fire them. You have to. In fact, Guy Kawasaki, the American marketing specialist, author, and Silicon Valley venture capitalist who was once responsible for marketing the original Macintosh computer line in 1984, says, Steve Jobs has a saying that A players hire A players, B players hire C players, and C players hire D players. It doesn't take long to get to Z players. This trickle-down effect causes bozo explosion in companies. Tony Hsieh, the CEO of Zappos, says, we believe that it's really important to come up with core values that you can commit to. And by commit, we mean that you're willing to hire and fire based on them. If you're willing to do that, then you're well on your way to building a company culture that is in line with the brand you want to build. Elon Musk, the founder, CEO, and the CTO of SpaceX, the co-founder and CEO of Tesla Motors, the co-founder and chairman of SolarCity, the co-chairman of OpenAI, the co-founder of Zip2, and the co-founder of X.com, says, one lesson I learned at PayPal is to fire people faster. He said, one lesson I learned at PayPal is to fire people faster. That sounds awful, but I think if somebody is not working out, it's best to part ways sooner rather than later. It's a mistake to try to make something work that really couldn't work. So Elon Musk, who's a billionaire, he's doing well. He's doing very well. Guy Kawasaki, doing very well. Tony Hsieh, doing very well. Steve Jobs, the late great Steve Jobs, writes, some people aren't used to an environment where excellence is expected. Again, he says, some people aren't used to an environment where excellence is expected. All of these people who are doing well would encourage you to fire people who absolutely refuse to do what is required. Therefore, you have to do the group interview each and every week. But Clavis, what kind of message does that send to your people? I mean, what if you are in a spot where you're not hiring people right now? What kind of message would that send to your core team if you're interviewing people that could be their replacements? Your people need to know that if they're unwilling to do what is required, you will make them go. That's how it works. You have to create a culture of accountability. You have to create a culture where people will do what they say they're going to do. And if they don't, they're going to get fired. All right, Thrive Nation, our next guest to appear on today's edition of the Thrive Time Show is Randy from rural Arkansas. Randy, how are you, sir?
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't appreciate all them microphone apparatuses everywhere. It feels like you're trying to trap me into some kind of trick.
Now, you do recognize that this is a radio show and a podcast that is broadcast to hundreds of thousands of people all around the world. Were you not aware of that?
Well, now, they sent me an email that was supposed to be an overview of the show. Because that is what they want me to do. I ain't being a part of that Illuminati.
What? Who's the Illuminati that they're speaking of? Who are these organizations specifically?
Well, that's easy. That would be the Yelp, the BBB, that's the Better Business Bureau, and the One World Order. They want me to check my email, and I ain't gonna do it. You know, you see, I have a car garage where I maintain vehicles. I fix mufflers and transmissions and that kind of thing. But I ain't going to get on the internet, Clavis. They're all watching me everywhere. It's like black helicopters are everywhere. Just the other day, I was going to the store. I go to the store and I check out. I bought myself some soap, some good soap, organic soap, natural made, that kind of thing. Something that Shaquilla, my wife, would like. And I go there and I check out, and the receipt when I bought the soap, it said the soap came out to $6.97. Now, $6.97, when you divide the mark of the beast by 3, that comes out to $6.97. And there were 3 people working at the time. I don't find that to be just a coincidence, right?
Now, I'm looking through the email, but it looks as though you're trying to tell me on the show today that you don't believe that the internet works for your industry, that people do not Google search muffler repair in your area. You believe that the internet is not a valid way to market your business.
Well, I'll tell you what, right now I'm reading a book that I once wrote, and it's about Abraham Lincoln. Are you familiar with Abraham Lincoln?
Yes.
Now, are you familiar with Abe, or are you
Yes.
just a redneck?
No.
Did Abraham Lincoln use Google? No. All right, so there we go. So did Christopher Columbus, who found this great country in 1492, when Columbus was sailing the ocean blue, did you read about him using a Bluetooth? No. Did he use the internet? No. So did Brett Favre go to the Hall of Fame in football for throwing a computer to other nerds? No. So I ain't going to use the internet to market. So my question is, if I am out there and I'm a devoted listener to your show, I'll listen, nine shows a week now. What if I don't want to use the internet to market to my customers? What's the best way to market?
As extreme as your worldview may seem to some people, I have people that I talk to on a daily basis that share your worldview. Doctors, dentists, hand surgeons who believe that for some reason, because of their unique industry, nobody uses the internet to research and to look for the products and services that they need. I find this a lot with doctors. The vast majority of doctors that I've ever worked with believe that the internet is not something that they need to master in order to reach their ideal and likely buyers. And I would just say this categorically. If you will go to thrivetimeshow.com and click on the podcasts button, on the right column of that page, you can download the Boom Book for free. And in the Boom Book, I will teach you the specific moves that I know to use that will help you to grow a successful company. I will teach you the moves. The Boom Book, you can download the ebook version of the Boom Book for free. But nothing works unless you work. You have to implement the proven systems in that book. And I just find that so many people want to fight back about what works. It's weird because they want to know what works. You tell them what works, and then they want to argue with you about whether it will work for them.
Look, buddy, I've been waiting a long time for my opportunity to voice my concerns and my questions about your coaching system.
Okay. I'm glad you're in the studio. What is your name again, sir?
I think the bigger question for you is, what is my name?
I feel like that's the question I just asked you. Did I phrase that wrong?
Oh, smarty, you're smarty pants. I asked you, what is my name? And then you, as I recall, where's Mabel? Mabel, are you there?
Sir, Mabel's not there. But I think you had an issue with call recording. Do you recall the question about call recording?
Yes, I do recall. I personally take great offense to the concept of call recording. You were on your show saying I should record my calls.
True.
And I'm saying I don't want to record my calls.
Okay.
And then you're saying on your show, record your calls.
Right.
Quality control. I don't want to do it.
Okay.
Do you think that Christopher Columbus recorded his call when he was on the phone with Prince Diana discussing some of the intricacies of what was going on at the Vatican?
Did you say Prince Diana?
Okay. I get it now. I see what you're doing. You're trying to paint me into a corner using my own words. Well, I'll tell you this. You will fax me an MP3 of today's transcript immediately. Or I will, where's Mabel?
Don't know where Mabel is, but I think that call recording has been a proven method for a long time. As an example, I mean, if you were to call American Express today or Southwest Airlines or a lot of bigger companies, you would notice they have call recording in place for quality assurance. If you go into major retail stores like Target or Walmart or other big establishments, you'll notice they have video cameras that are recording what's going on, and they have a monitor so you can actually see the video that they are capturing of you in the store. And they do that to minimize theft, to minimize inaccuracy, to verify what was said actually happened. Call recording can't do anything but to help your team, and that's why I encourage you to use clarityvoice.com. That's who we use, clarityvoice.com. It dramatically increases your sales percentage. I'm not sure why you're so hung up on call recording.
All right, Clavis, let me ask you 5 questions right now, point blank. Question 1.
Okay, I'm ready. Here we go.
Why did the Incas not record their calls if call recording was so essential for a great civilization?
They died early.
Question number 2.
It wasn't available.
If call recording was so great, how come President Trump doesn't want his calls recorded at all times and shared with the American people.
He's the commander-in-chief. Secrecy.
Question number 3. Where's Mabel?
I think it's a good time to move on to another guest.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir, for being on the show. Whatever your name is, I really feel like you've contributed a lot today.
Unbelievable. And where are my pants?
Get this guy out of the studio. And
You
how did he
can't
get in there
make
without
me
any
wear
pants?
pants.
I didn't realize
You
he wasn't wearing
can't
pants
do it.
until he just got
No.
up there. But get
No.
him out of here.
All right, I apologize that was a little distracting, but the point is you have to record your calls. If you use clarityvoice.com, you will soon discover that the vast majority of American employees do not follow call scripts and or systems unless they know that you are recording their calls for quality assurance. It is super vital to your success as a business owner to record your calls. Make it happen.
Clay, our next guest here on the show, he's wants to come in now. Is that okay? Can we send him in?
Absolutely. Send him in. I'm excited to meet our next guest.
Clay Clark you are. Better looking I thought you'd be.
Okay, I realize that you have come on the show with an agenda to attack me or be sort of a ridiculous person, but being the fact that you appear to be 2.5 feet tall and green, I'll give you the floor. What question do you have for me?
In due time, questions I shall ask. Right now, we eat.
No, we're not going to eat. This is a podcast. We teach business skills that pay the bills. I need you what business questions do you have for me?
Vader.
What?
In due time, you must face Vader.
What are you talking about? This is a business show. I'm not going to go face Darth Vader. What is the business question that you have?
Kidding, I do.
Nice.
Now, sales we must talk. Leads flow into my website. Convert they do not. Conversion I must improve.
How often do you call the leads? When a lead actually comes into your website, when someone fills out a form and you get their lead information, how often do you call the lead each and every day?
One time I called each lead. Busy I am, teaching the Force to young Padawans.
Well, here's the deal. In order to actually convert leads into sales, you have to call each lead, on average, 6 times. And that's because the average person will not pick up the phone if they don't recognize the number that's calling them. So people will not pick up the phone unless they recognize the phone number that's calling them. So you need to text every lead immediately, a link to your testimonials, and something that lets them know who you are. So the text should say, "Hi, this is such and such plumbing. We will be in touch as soon as possible." And then send them a link to testimonials. You've got to text your leads right away. And then after you text your leads, you need to call them on average of 5 times per day. That's for inbound leads. I'm not talking about cold calling. I'm talking about when someone fills out your website form. On average with the 160 clients I work with that are doing over $2.2 billion of gross revenue in annual sales, the average client says that they have to call their leads an average of, think about this for a second, 5 times to get the other person to pick up the phone.
No time I have to call leads 5 times. If people want to do business with me, they will travel to Dagobah to seek Yoda. They must ask specifically by name for Yoda. Too old to learn technology I am.
Well, then you just won't be successful. I don't understand the question. If you don't have the tenacity needed to call each and every lead until they cry bye or die, you're just not going to be successful. You've got to call your leads 5 times per day and send them a text and an email. You've got to send them a text and an email and call your leads 5 times per day. If you don't do that, you just aren't going to be successful.
A Jedi strength flows through the Force.
So does that mean you're actually going to call your leads?
No try, just do.
What just happened? For the longest time, you were telling me that you weren't going to call your leads, and now you are going to call your leads? I don't.
Quote myself, I must.
I don't get it.
Always pass on.
Okay.
what you have learned.
Fine. You're a sick freak. Let's get another listener on today's show. Our next listener here has a few questions about how to generate more leads for their new business, specifically with their website. I understand it. Is that correct?
I have a very small business, and I want to pump up the leads.
How did you find a shirt that small? What size shirt is that? You're a big man.
It's a lady small, but it shows my striations and my vascularity. I'm here to pump up my sales leads. I want to know, what do I have to do to get to the top of the Google search results?
Well, as we talk about often on this show, what you need to do is you need to get the most objective Google reviews, step 1. Step 2, you need to write the most original content on your website, the most original, relevant HTML content. And if you don't know what that means, you can just download a free copy right now of my book called Search Engine Domination. You can get that for free right now by going to thrivetimeshow.com and clicking on the podcasts button.
I do not use computers.
Well,
I do not like the technology.
Okay.
I'm old school.
I realize that it's not what you want to do, but what you want to do and what you need to do are not related. You've got to learn how to dominate the search engine marketing if you're going to get leads.
No.
Yes.
No.
You have to.
No.
Yes.
You can't make me do it. I'll beat you to death with your own head.
I'm not going to sit there and debate with you, okay? Obviously, you're physically stronger. You can rip my head off. But the point is, you have to write the most original HTML content and have the most objective reviews. You have to do that.
It's impossible to get to Google reviews.
Okay.
I email the people. I say, get me a Google review.
I know.
Nobody does it.
But we've talked about this on previous shows. You can't email people and expect to get Google reviews. Most people will not, by default, leave a positive, objective review if the only prompt that they receive is an email. They just will not leave an objective Google review if the only prompt that they receive is an email from your company asking them about your products or services. They just won't leave a review. So you've got to ask people at the point of purchase how happy they were with the purchase and if they would be willing to leave an objective Google review. You have to ask in person, face-to-face, if you ever want to gather actual objective Google reviews from your real clients. You have to do it. You have to understand it. You have to master it if you want to get to be top in the Google search engine results. So right now, if you Google search Tulsa, let's just say you Google search South Tulsa personal trainers. South Tulsa personal trainers. My client comes up top, Magnus Fitness. If you Google search Joplin Gyms, Joplin, Missouri, Joplin Gyms, my client Koloff Fitness comes up top.
All you talk about is facts. You never talk about the feelings.
True.
What about the feelings of rejection I feel when I ask for a Google review?
I don't know how to push through those feelings of rejection. However, if you Google search Bartlesville Gyms, my client comes up top in the search results. Koloff Fitness comes up top when you're searching for Bartlesville Gyms. If you search for Topeka, Topeka, Kansas, Topeka, Topeka, Kansas, my client comes up top in the search results. If you type in Tuscaloosa ophthalmology, my client comes up top in these search results. It's just how it works.
Okay, I would do this. I knew this that if I only eat the meat and the vegetables and the water, I get pumped up. And I don't like it, but it's a fact. And so now I will say I will get the Google review. I will write the content on a daily basis so I can dominate and pump it up with my sales. Thank you, Clavers.
I appreciate you for not ripping my head off and then killing me with my own head, as previously mentioned. Now let's bring in our next guest.
I'm sorry about that. I just sometimes
Thanks.
I just get emotional and I do threaten to rip people's heads off.
I appreciate that.
I've never done it before.
Okay, on to our next guest, and our next guest is who?
Hello, it's so nice to be on this show. I have so many questions. Clavers, I listen to you almost every day. I got so many questions for you.
I didn't quite catch your name there. What's your name, sir?
My name is Gerardo. Clavers, I have a question for you about how to do tracking. Every time I sit down to do the tracking and check the numbers, I find myself I'm thinking about an ice cream bar. I get distracted quickly. And then all of a sudden, I realize Tuesdays become Wednesday, Wednesdays become Monday, and I do not do my tracking. What tips do you have for my tracking?
Well, you just have to schedule a time each and every week to sit down and to track where your leads are coming from. Okay. You want to know where you're gaining traction. I mean, if you're doing advertising on Google and then on Facebook and retargeting ads and networking events or whatever you're doing to market your company, it's very important that you know where your leads are coming from.
That's
So it really comes down to a self-discipline and just scheduling a set time each and every week to look at your numbers and to find out where each and every one of your leads came from.
Right. I know that self-discipline is a huge part of
It's all of it.
the training process, but I want to ask you,
It's all of it.
I just don't have the time, It's like I run out of time. You're so negative about Instagram and then the Facebook and the TikTok and the Snapchat. And they're all things I love to do, Kravis. So come on now.
Calm down, okay? So I would ask you today, what are you doing that you shouldn't be doing?
All of it.
According to Nielsen right now, the average person is spending 11.3 hours.
Not nice.
11.3 hours per day.
You're negative.
Consuming media. That turns out to be a lot of media. So get out of there. Quit consuming media all day. According to the New York Times, the average person is spending 5.3 hours per day watching TV. According to Psychology Today, the average person is receiving over 100 distractions per day from their smartphone. Turn the push notifications off. Turn the TV off. Turn the social media off and focus on what matters. You've got to block out time for the things you need to do by saying no to the things you don't need to do.
Clavis, every time I sit down to do something, right? It's like I sit down to do my tracking. I sit down to do my accounting.
Okay.
And it's like a message comes in from the Facebook or the Instagram, and I need to respond.
You don't need to respond. You just don't need to do it.
But Clavis, what if it's my child?
Sure.
And they're screaming. They're on a bus. And they're screaming like, oh, no, the only way I know how to reach Daddy is on Instagram.
Well,
how am I supposed to deal with the feelings of FOMO, the feelings of missing out?
You just got to understand, you cannot be 24/7 connected to your smartphone without becoming dumb and reactionary. You've got to learn to turn the phone off to say yes to the things that you need to do.
Clavis, I'm going to try this. I think I can try to do it. I'll turn my phone off for several seconds, and I will see if I can find the time needed to do the things I need to do. I need to say no to grow, right? I mean, that's what I need to do.
Thank you for joining us on today's show, and I think we're ready for our next guest.
Clavis, first off, I just want to say I'm just a long-time listener, and I love the show because the format is it's fast-paced, but not too fast-paced, because I tend to listen to the show backwards. It's how I learn. So I'll download each show and I'll play it backwards, and it's but I'll do it at half speed, which is half, the speed of normal, but it's not too fast. And if your voice is any faster, then I couldn't hear it when I was playing it backwards.
I appreciate that. Do you have a question for me about how to grow your business?
Yes, I've been coordinating weddings for several seasons, and one of the biggest issues I have is with time management. It's I'll set a time for let's say I'll say I'm going to call you back at 1 p.m. right? But then at 12:59 p.m. somebody else calls me.
No, yeah.
And it's they call me at the exact time I'm supposed to be calling someone else, and I'm like, uh-oh. And I say to myself, who are you going to answer? Are you going to answer the phone or make the call? And so I'll answer the phone, and I'll try to merge the calls where I'm talking to the person that called me, but also trying to merge it with the person who I called. And it's weird. It's hello. And they're like, hello, what's going on? How's it going? I'm like, I'm doing good. And they're like, who is this? And I'm like, well, you know who this is. And they go, no, I don't. And another person says, you do too, because you put me on hold. Yeah, I was just talking to you. And it's just this circle, and it's so weird.
Well, if you listen to this show for any amount of time at all, you're going to discover that entrepreneurs have to have a different way in which they deal with time than the average person.
Yes.
The average person, can be late to a birthday party or late to an event, and everybody gives them forgiveness. But whenever somebody's paying you to solve a problem for them or to provide a product or a service for them, there's usually a lot less patience.
Right.
So what I would encourage you to do is whatever you have scheduled, honor that in your calendar, but then say no to everything else that you did not put into your schedule. You must learn to say no to grow, as we've mentioned on the show earlier, but it's super important that you only do what you're scheduled to do during your day. You must design the life that you want to live, or you must accept that you'll live a life that you don't want by default.
That is a fabulous tip, and I'm going to go ahead and put that on a T-shirt and just block it off my calendar right now. And I'll tell you this, next time I make an outbound call that I've scheduled and someone else calls me, I am not going to answer that phone, and I am not going to merge the call. Well, thank you for being on the Thrive Time Show, and now it's time to move on to our next guest. Ma'am, what brings you on to the Thrive Time Show? What question do you have? Good Lord, it's so hard to get on your show. I've been trying to call you for months, but you never answer the phone, honey. Who booked Mabel? Unbelievable. I call your cell phone number, and you never answer it. I call your mother, and she tells me to call you. You never answer. Oh, Mr. Big Shot. Who do you think you are, Mr. Big Shot? Whoa, never going to get too far. All right, Aunt Mabel, obviously you've somehow snuck your way onto the show. What question do you have? Or do you have a question? How do you feel good about call recording? It's like American Express records the calls, and Southwest Airlines records the calls. You go to Walmart, you go to Target, and everyone's recording, and there's video cameras everywhere. Why can't you just let your people be peaceful? All right, calm down. It's because the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and CBS News have reported that 75% of employees steal from the workplace. And I've run companies for 23 years. And over the 23 years, I've found over and over and over and over and over again that employees are going to lie, cheat, and steal when they do not believe that you are watching them. It's all about accountability. It's all about call recording. It's all about GPS systems and work trucks. It's all about recorded video in office places. So if you're out there today and you're struggling to get your team to do what they're supposed to do, I would encourage you to install the following 4 accountability systems. 1, in your office, I would encourage you to install call recording via clarityvoice.com. Install the call recording via clarityvoice.com. 2, install GPS on your work vehicles. Make sure you know that your employees are actually going to the job site. So often employees are not actually going to the job site. 3, get the video cameras installed in your business via the Nest system. It's Nest, Nest.com. Get those camera systems set up in your office. Get it set up in your office. And 4, install Active Track. That's ACTIVTRAK. Active Track, ACTIV. TRAK on all of your office computers. That way you can record the keystrokes of each and every one of your employees, and you'll know what they're saying about you when you're not there, what they're typing about you, what websites they're going to. Because right now, most of the data out there shows that the average employee is wasting about 40% of their workday. That's right. The average employee is wasting about 40% of their workday. So you can almost double the productivity of your team without doubling your workforce, but with just installing the keystroke recorders, installing the GPS systems in the work trucks so you know where the people are actually going, and installing the call recording via clarityvoice.com. Why can't you just trust people? Because if you do, you're going to get robbed blind in your business. Installing these things in your company and in your business systems absolutely will change your life. It's unbelievable. The world is so different now. It's so negative. What? You know, when I was growing up, I used to go skinny dipping in the
What are you talking about?
in the local spring. It's like a local spring. It's like a pond, you know. And I would just, Aunt Mabel, you're always so weird. Can you stop? No, when I was your age, I would go out there skinny dipping forever.
What are you
It was
talking
just crazy. We just skinny dipping. We didn't wear clothes at all. What does this have to do with this story? We're talking about installing call recording for accountability and Nest cameras for accountability and keystroke recording and GPS systems for accountability. What does that story have to do with accountability? It has nothing to do with what you were talking about. I just like to hop on the show and say things. Stop. Get off the show. Where do you get off? Somebody hit her mute button. I cannot believe I'm your third cousin on your mother's side. It's just embarrassing. Just don't respect your elders. Mabel, get off the phone and please put some clothes on. How did you know I wasn't wearing anything? I guessed. And speaking of guests, our next guest comes to us. Wow, I'm trying to block that out of my mind. Our next guest comes to us to talk to us about, apparently they have a question about how to hire and how to find the right people. Clavis, are you ready for a great question about how to find the right people? Absolutely. Jack, what's with the whole pirate thing? Can I ask you real quick before we answer your question? What's going on with the whole pirate motif? Are you ready to know the secret? I'd like to know why you're doing the whole pirate theme. If you could tell me, that'd be great. Clavis, I will answer your question in the form of a riddle. Why can't the pirates learn the alphabet? I don't know. It is because the pirate has spent years on only the seas. I don't think that's very, very funny, but could you tell me for real, what is the question that you have
for our guests.
All right, fine. I'll stop horsing around. Clavis, why do you always harp on the importance of having A players working on your business team? Why can't we have C players like we have on the pirate ship?
Well, because Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple, talked about in great length the importance of hiring A players. He talked about how A players have the ability to run circles around B and C players. How a small team of A players can absolutely outproduce a team of B and C players. It's because nothing works unless you do, according to Maya Angelou. It's because John D. Rockefeller, the world's wealthiest man during his lifetime, said the ability to deal with people is as purchasable a commodity as sugar or coffee, and I will pay more for that ability than any other under the sun. It's because most people just can't manage C players. Most people can't. And so whether you think it's mean or not, at the end of the day, you can't have people on your team that you can't trust. Tim Ferriss, the best-selling author of the 4-Hour Work Week book series, says a person's success in life can usually be measured by the number of uncomfortable conversations he or she is willing to have. Again, a person's success in life can usually be measured by the number of uncomfortable conversations he or she is willing to have. Guy Kawasaki, who once worked for Steve Jobs, said Steve Jobs has a saying that A players hire A players, B players hire C players, and C players hire D players. It doesn't take long to get to Z players. This trickle-down effect causes bozo explosions in companies. Steve Jobs said, some people aren't used to an environment where excellence is expected. Elon Musk, the man behind SpaceX, Tesla, Solar City, PayPal, he writes, one lesson I learned at PayPal is to fire people faster. That sounds awful, but I think if somebody is not working out, it's best to part ways sooner rather than later. It's a mistake to try too hard to make something work that really couldn't. My friend, let me ask you this. In your boat / work environment, I know that you guys work on a boat, but in your work environment, do any of the following things happen? Do people steal from the workplace?
Yes, Clavis, frequently.
Do people lie?
Yes.
At the workplace?
Daily, Clavis, daily.
Do people engage in sexual activity with other members of the employee team?
Fornication is one of our favorite occupations.
Is there an overall culture of distrust within your organization?
That's pirate law.
Can people within your organization believe that your meetings are going to start on time and that their checks are going to get paid on time?
We're pirates. We don't start meetings. We don't have meetings. All we do is we rape and we pillage. And
could you guys rape less?
Bury the treasure.
Maybe pillage less?
Hide the map so that no one else can find it.
Okay, because you're pirates, I could get it. But for the listeners out there who are not pirates, I don't think you want C players working in your organization. You don't want to create a culture or to work in an environment where things can't be trusted, where people don't know if they're going to get paid or not, or where corporate trust doesn't exist, where a pirate culture of sorts exists.
Hey!
You don't want to work in an environment where a pirate culture exists.
I take offense at this. I am a pirate, and I don't know why I wanted to be on your show.
I don't know either.
Clavis, I've got one last pirate joke for you. Are you ready for yet another pirate joke?
Okay, fine. I don't want to hear it, but okay.
Why couldn't the pirate crew play cards?
You have me stumped.
Because the captain was standing on the deck. Arr, 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 arr.
Whoa. That right there, my friend, was impressive. And now we move on to our next guest here on the Thrive Time Show. Podcast and download as we attempt to coach the Uncoachables.
Well, now, Clavis, thank you for having me on the show. I'm a long-time listener.
Sure. I'm glad you're on the show. And what question do you have for me?
Well, I just want to say I have a big problem with your book.
Okay.
On page 175 of your Boom book, you wrote, the secret to success is determined by your daily agenda. However, what if I do not have a daily agenda?
Well, you're going to have a calendar.
Nope.
Or a to-do list.
Nope.
Every successful person that I've ever interviewed who's worth millions or billions of dollars, they all have a day timer. They all have a day timer and a to-do list. I've never had a successful client that does not have these things.
No, Clavis, you're not going to speak that over me.
What?
I'm not going to be limited by the tyranny of time management.
It's not tyranny.
I'm not going to carry a to-do list.
Just do it.
I'm not going to carry a calendar. I ain't going to do it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be the first client in the history of America.
What?
To be successful without a to-do list and a calendar on a daily basis.
Why? Why don't you just get a to-do list in a day planner? What is so hard about being disciplined enough to carry a to-do list and a calendar on a daily basis?
Because I had a dream, and my dream consists of complete time freedom. I don't want to be
This makes no sense.
held under the tyrannical rule of a calendar that's telling me, oh, you got to be over here and you got to go over there. I don't want commitments. I don't want responsibilities. I don't want to have to show up for something that just because I said I would.
Look, I've been coaching clients for a long, long time, and I can tell you that this past year, we've had massive success. And I'm actually going to document the success of our clients this year, because if you go on the show notes to today's show, I want you to see this.
Don't try to change me with your facts. I'm going to focus on how I feel, and how I feel is a fact.
Sure. Our average client grows their business by over 35% a year.
That only matters if you care about numbers.
Whereas, according to Inc. magazine, 96% of American businesses fail. 96% of American businesses fail. Think about that. Whereas our clients are growing by an average of more than 30%. More than 30%. I'm going to put a link here on the show notes to the name of the client, to their website, and to their growth percentage so that you can check it out.
Look, I do not care about your facts. It's like, I can't hear what you're saying. I want to set a record. I want to be the first entrepreneur who doesn't use the daytime.
All the people that are growing carry a to-do list and a calendar at all times. Why do you insist on being the only person that does not do this? I don't get it.
So you're telling me right now that LeBron Jameson,
LeBron,
before he shoots a shot, he goes, hey, Kobe, hey, Shaq.
They're on his team.
You want me check my day timer real quick because I want to look at my to-do list before I shoot the ball in the hole. Is that what you're saying? Is that what he does? Right.
No, I'm just saying you're an adult, and at a very basic level, you reached out for help growing your company, I'm assuming.
Okay.
And you can't grow your company if you can't grow yourself. And in order to improve yourself, you have to do what the most successful people do. You have to have a to-do list and a calendar.
Okay, fine. I will get myself a to-do. And Cletus, in fact, as you were talking, I was working on my to-do list.
Really?
And I want to tell you what's on it.
Really?
You want to know what's on my to-do list?
I'm sure it's sarcastic, but sure.
Well, you only want to put the most important things at the top of your to-do list, right? Things you really want to do.
Sure.
Am I correct? That you want to put the things
yes.
on the top of your to-do list that you want to do.
Go ahead now. What's on your to-do list?
Now, Clavis, the number one most important thing on my to-do list that I want to do in my complex life with all my complexities and all the requirements on myself is that I want to get done. I want to make sure I commit to it. I don't want to drop the ball. I want to do it. I just want to do what John Maxwell wants me to do. John Maxwell said in his pretty little book here, the 21 Laws of Leadership, he wrote there, he says, the secret to success is determined by your daily agenda. And I want to make sure I get it done. So I typed it here out, and I'd like to have permission to read it to your listeners.
Okay, sure. What is it?
Well, right here on my to-do list, item number 1, I put do Clay's mime.
Get out of here. Come on.
I wrote it down.
Get off the show. Get out of here. Who booked this guy? Can we get some decent guests on the show? I mean, I know today's show is called The Uncoachables, but I'd like to have at least one sane person who has a real business question for me. Go ahead, caller. Welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. What say you?
I like to be on the Thrive Time Show. I'm so excited to be here.
And I'm excited to have you on the show. What question do you have, sir?
It's impossible to train people today. People today are idiots. They don't want to allow me to transfer my karma. I try to teach them how to work in my business, and they will not transfer my karma. They will not receive my aura.
Are you saying that you're trying to teach your people how to do what you do? You're trying to teach them how to work in your company?
Yes, encouragement.
What job are you wanting your people to do? What job is it?
I want to teach my people to sell things.
Sure.
Beautiful things. To answer the phone and to sell things to my customers. That is what I want.
Okay, I appreciate your passion. I'm just going to ask you here if you have the following things in place, because if you don't, it's going to be very hard to train your people. 1, Do you have a printed, typed out, a written script that you want all of your people to follow?
I do not have this in place.
Do you have a call recording system like clarityvoice.com? A call recording system like clarityvoice.com installed so that you can hear what your people are actually saying on the phone versus what you want them to be saying?
I do not have this technology.
Do you actually have a weekly scheduled appointment in your calendar blocked out just for training your people, where you can teach your people the skills they need to be successful?
I do not believe in scripts and call recording. I believe in transferring my karma. I do not want to create a bunch of robots who cannot think.
Do you have a steady pipeline of new candidates coming in who are capable and who want to work for you? The people that have high character where you can train them a skill. You want to hire for character and train for skill. Are you constantly recruiting new people?
No, I believe the old dog can be taught new tricks. I believe that 9/11 was an inside job. And I believe that cannabis can be used to help people.
Do you invest in your people emotionally, training them on a weekly basis, or do you just sort of train them when they don't understand the handbook and therefore fail to live up to your standards?
I actually have great training programs.
Oh, wow.
And I will play for you audio right now of my manager.
I'd love to hear it.
Of my yoga studio, training our people.
Great.
We put the video cameras in there, and it is the audio that he's of him training people and transferring his karma from him into them.
Well, I'd love to hear it. Go ahead and hit it.
Before I hit play, I start with this. This is audio played from a sacred time, in a sacred place. This is my dojo where I teach the yoga, and I want everyone to picture themselves right now in my yoga studio, so that the profundity of this moment is not lost.
Okay, I will picture myself in your yoga studio and a member of your team training your people.
I am so sorry I'm late. I just swam from the other side of the island. Please, allow me to put on something more proper before we can begin. Thank God. There we go. Much better. Now, who is ready for their yoga?
My name's Jason.
Jason.
Hi.
Nice.
Cynthia, hi.
Hello, Cynthia. The children's position.
Usted.
Head down, buttocks up. Everybody on your mats. Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good. Very nice posture. Yes. Encouragement. So I will transfer you my energy. I will transfer my karma. Here is my karma on you.
Jason!
You have a great aura. Yes.
Jason!
Encouragement. Yes. This is a great way to stretch.
Yeah.
You see? You could do this with your partner at home. Let's ride this energy out.
Yeah.
Yes, this fire has just started, and we will not put it out.
What is he doing?
I don't really know that pose.
Okay, now we go into the happy baby pose. No. Please regard me.
I'm sorry?
Please, allow me.
To do what?
Regard me.
Okay.
Yes. You are doing fantastic, my dear.
Thank you. Okay.
See, as I gently pulsate.
Okay.
Trying to go deeper and deeper and bring her deeper and deeper into a stretch, yes?
Okay, Fabio, that's enough with the pulsating, please.
Then do it. Yes. Encouragement, my friend. Oh, look at this one. This little one is flexible.
Yes. Really good.
Oh, fantastic. So you do like the lizard. Now is when we transfer the energy, you see?
Yep, and you just lay everything on top of her?
Yes. Lay it all. Stretch.
That feels pretty good, huh?
Boom. Boom.
What?
Boom.
Am I straight enough here, do you think? Or am I curving a little?
Let me show you. You feel the transfer of the energy.
Well, it feels solid.
It is tantric energy. It is calm.
Now, it sounds to me that your trainer is being inappropriate with the vast majority of your customers. Do you agree?
Oh, yes, I agree. I have felt this for some time.
Okay, so why don't you fire him?
Because he's my brother-in-law, and he's, although super sexual, he is a family of sorts, and I give a hall pass to my brother-in-law and my cousin and anybody I'm related to. I would never fire somebody.
Well, then you can't be successful. I mean, it doesn't matter how good your system is. If you have bad people working for you, it doesn't work. I mean, to quote Maya Angelou, the best-selling author and award-winning actress, nothing works unless you do. I mean, it doesn't matter how great of a system you have if you have people on your team who won't follow your systems and who show up perpetually late and who are flirting with your clients. It's just not going to work. I mean, why do they still work for you? Because blood is thicker than water. Well, if you open up your Bible to Proverbs 13:20, it's Proverbs 13:20, it reads, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." Again, it says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm." Are you not aware of that verse? I mean, are you not aware that your network is your net worth, that you become the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with? I mean, what is the challenge in understanding this idea?
There's no challenge. I just would like to keep him on my payroll forever because he's my brother-in-law.
Well, then it's never going to get better.
Oh, it will become better because I have become bitter.
What? Did you walk around your daily life carrying a sound effects machine?
That is exactly right.
That's impressive.
I want you to remember this day. You've taken my family's honor, and for that, I must fight you. Maybe not now, but in the distant future. Every time you go anywhere, you must look around from side to side behind you, wondering, what is that over there? Is that the guest I have publicly shamed? Or is that somebody coming to kill me? Or is that both?
Well, that's the first sound effects-filled death threat from a listener we've had in quite some time. Now let's move on to our next guest. Who do we have here on the Thrive Time Show?
Well, I can tell you this. My name is Kevin.
All right.
I'm a little bit nervous to be on the show. Gotta be honest with you. A long-time listener, first time in your studio. There's a lot of stuff in your studio here. And I just wanted to give a little pushback about the merit-based pay thing. You know, where you're paying people if they do their jobs and then not paying them if they don't do it.
All right. So here's the deal. Sam Walton,
member of the Illuminati,
founder of Walmart and Sam's Club, he talked about how the customer is the boss. And they can fire everybody from the chairman on down simply by deciding to take their money elsewhere. Again, the customer is the boss. Who's the boss? The customer is the boss. Let me pull up the actual quote here for you. I'll read it to you. Sam Walton said, "There's only one boss, the customer, and he can fire everybody in the company from the chairman on down simply by spending his money somewhere else. So if you have members of your team that simply will not do their homework, their tasks and their daily checklists, or follow their scripts, or make the product the right way, or ship it the right way, or if they're just unwilling to do what they're supposed to do, those are insubordinate people who need to be fired."
Well, now, if I could interject here, Bernie Sanders said, what being a socialist means is that you hold out a vision of a society where poverty is absolutely unnecessary, where international relations are not based upon greed, but on cooperation, where human beings can own the means of production and work together, rather than have to work as a semi-slave to other people who can hire and fire.
Okay, let's deal with this point by point. One, Bernie Sanders is stating that socialism means to him a world where poverty is abolished. Well, Proverbs 10:4 states in the Bible. Let me look it up here. I realize that Bernie Sanders doesn't like the Bible or cause and effect or anything that actually makes sense. But in Proverbs 10:4 it reads, "Lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth." Again, lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. There's another verse that it talks about if you don't work, you shouldn't eat. If you don't work, you shouldn't eat. Now, I realize that doesn't fit into Bernie Sanders' ridiculous worldview, where lazy people somehow get rewarded by receiving subsidies from people who actually work hard. But this is would be 2 Thessalonians 3:10. This would be, let me read the verse here to you. It says, "For even when we were with you, this we commanded you, that if any would not work, neither should eat." So this idea that everybody deserves equal compensation and that poverty should be abolished. I mean, poverty is the punishment for being a slackard. I'm frankly glad that there's poverty in America. I am glad there are people in America that are poor if they're lazy. No, nobody wants a kid to be poor who's raised in a poor family, but we've had a lot of guests on the show, like J.T. McCormick, who grew up poor, who's gone on to become successful. I grew up without money. But this whole idea of quoting Bernie Sanders is just ridiculous. And then the final point is that it says, where human beings can own the means of production and work together rather than having to work as semi-slaves to other people who can hire and fire. What, are you kidding me? That's why the service that's provided at almost any government institution is terrible, because they can't hire and fire people. That's why it's awful. It's because they can't fire people. That is why school teachers, by and large, the American public school system is a disaster, because they can't hire and fire people. And listen, although we could not get Steve Jobs on the show today because he is dead, I do want to make sure that I cue up this sound clip right here, because this sound clip right here is what Steve Jobs would have to say to you right now if you were interjecting that kind of jackassery onto a program or an interview featuring him.
Problem there, of course, is the unions. The unions are the worst thing that ever happened to education, because it's not a meritocracy. It turns into a bureaucracy, which is exactly what's happened. And teachers can't teach, and administrators run the place, and nobody can be fired. It's terrible.
If you run a business right now, okay, if you run a company and you do not fire poor performers, you're going to lose.
So you're saying right now that if I'm a socialist, that I'm a jackass.
True.
And if I am lazy, I deserve poverty as a punishment. Is that correct, sir?
That is absolutely right.
Well, I do strongly disagree with you, but
I don't care.
Can I borrow your phone? I need to get a ride home,
what?
And I just need to borrow that if that's okay. And do you guys got anything to eat in the studio here?
No, just get out of here. Get him out of here. Who do we have up next?
Bro, it's an honor to be on your show, bro.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about running online ads. It's like,
okay.
Everybody says, like, oh, you got to run ads. And, but then it's like, I would never click on an ad, because I don't,
Okay, let's talk about the ads.
And then if we have some time, I want to talk about medical marijuana and how it helps me with my anxiety.
Seems to be working.
And I also want to talk about this new thing I'm working on. It's a 3D printer app where, like, you just watch Bob Ross. He'll, paint. And then, like, he'll tell you what to do, and then, like, the app will transcribe what Bob's saying, and it'll actually paint for you. So, like, everyone could be a painter, And then, like,
pull it through the paint.
That's right, it's Bob. That's Bob.
Wiggle it. Start
You
with
spell
just
Bob backwards,
touching the
it's the
canvas.
same thing, bro. If you have any time at all, I know you're busy. I want to talk about the power of silence, Just like, instead of just being there alone with your thoughts, just like, I guess I made a little noise there, but it's more of like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? You got to breathe. This is, I guess, not total silence, but just want to talk about those things. Those are big
The
things.
only coherent thing that I think...
Everything was coherent. I was in a dream while talking.
For whatever reason, a lot of people are very adverse.
I am adverse.
Can we turn off his mic, please?
That's so cool.
Please.
You're taking away my voice, man.
Again, most people are adverse to running ads. They feel like the ads won't work in their industry and that advertisements aren't going to work on their ideal and likely buyers. But I just want to share with great clarity that all successful brands that I have ever worked with run advertisements. And you want to run advertisements where your ideal and likely buyers are shopping. So you don't want to run, as an example, if you had a cheerleading gym or a program that taught tumbling, you would want to run ads where the mothers of your potential students would be spending their time. So running ads on Facebook is very effective for gymnastics centers, cheerleading training facilities, that kind of thing. Also for pediatric dentists, Facebook is a very effective advertising platform. However, when it comes to advertising to, let's say, for accountants, if you're an accountant out there and you're trying to gain extra clients or additional business clients, usually advertising on Facebook is not effective. So guys like Josh Spurrell and Hood CPAs have found over time that not a lot of people go on Facebook and spend their time on Facebook thinking about what accountant they want to choose, or they're not even open to thinking about what accountant to use because they're looking at a picture of a cat and commenting and engaging in comparison and political debates. But Google is a very effective place to advertise, and the kind of person that would type in Tulsa CPAs or Tulsa accountants is probably somebody looking for an accountant. So that, my friend, is hopefully everything you need to know about advertising. We have a lot of shows about advertising and the importance of advertising, but advertisement does work, and you need to stop smoking pot. As we're attempting to coach the uncoachables, what other winners do we have booked here? Who's next?
It's an honor.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
It's an honor for me to welcome you onto my show.
This is my show. You're in my studio.
No, not your show.
Yes.
My show.
No, it's my show. It's what it is.
Impatience.
I'm not impatient. You're just...
Seems as though
you're wrong.
Dragon energy fills your body.
Dragon energy is a good thing.
Not important to start on time.
What?
Important to finish strong.
It's important to be on time and to finish strong. What's wrong with you?
No. Not important to finish on time. Being present is a present.
Are you aware of how the economy works?
No. It's a circle. You argue in a circle. No. You argue in a circle.
So far, you've welcomed me onto your show, but it's my show. You've talked about how you don't have to be on time. I mean, you've yet to say anything that is accurate, or to even ask a question that makes sense.
No such thing as a bad teacher. Only bad student.
You have that in reverse.
Yes. No.
You just said...
Today, Clavus, we make a sacred pact.
Okay.
Like America has with North Korea.
We don't have a pact.
A bond on which we can build relations.
There's no trust.
A circle of trust, like Dennis Rodman has with Kim Jong-un.
Sure, that's
the leader of North Korea.
That's the key.
Kim Jong-un, North Korea.
Now,
Kim Jong, North Korea.
Stop saying
Dennis
that.
Rodman.
Stop saying
This is the kind of pact we must make today.
No.
This is the pact. Oh, calm down, Clavus.
You're absolutely...
Calm down. Once one centers one's feelings with one's actions, success is around the corner.
Success is about cause and effect.
Around the corner, your success
It's not about...
must align.
It's not...
mind.
It's cause and
With
effect.
body.
Get this...
With actions.
Can we mute this
like
guy?
Dennis Rodman, North Korea.
Can we get him out of here, please?
Dennis Rodman, North Korea.
Come on.
Breathe in now. Dennis Rodman, North Korea.
How does it take that long to mute that guy? Just get him out of here. I mean, listen, success is not a super spiritual thing. It's about cause and effect. It's about what you do on a daily basis. It's about sowing and reaping. As an example, if you Google search right now, Bill Belichick fan, you will find me at the top or near the top of Google's search engine results. If you do a Google search right now for Bill Belichick #1 fan with the number sign, I come up at the top or near the top. Why? Because I sowed the seeds, I got the reviews, I wrote the most original content, more content than anybody else about the subject of Bill Belichick. So I had the most content, I have the most reviews, the most canonical compliance, and the most mobile compliance. Therefore, I rank the highest. Why is it that some people want to spiritualize everything? The reason why Elephant in the Room Men's Grooming Lounge does well is because we offer a haircut experience that is far superior to that of our competition, and the first haircut is $1. Why is it so hard for somebody to grasp the idea that success is not a super spiritual woo-woo thing? I cannot tell you how many people have come into my life and have told me that the reason why they're not having success is because Jesus doesn't want them to. Or in the reverse, people who are not having success will say the reason why they haven't had success, but they're going to have success in the future, is because Jesus has told them they're going to. I can't speak to the various spiritual epiphanies that you've had or haven't had. I can only speak to the A plus B law of cause and effect. I can only speak to the scientific approach. I teach specifically the super moves that you can use that work. and I document the successes. If you go to thrivetimeshow.com/testimonials, you can click there and see the documented success stories of our clients. Now, some of our clients are outspoken Christians, some of them are not, but the point is, it's the law of cause and effect. The reason why Josh with Living Water Irrigation is top in the Google search engine results is not because he's a good guy, but he is a good guy. He grew from $300,000 of revenue to $1.9 million of revenue as a result of consistently doing the following 4 things as it relates to digital marketing. 1, he's gathering consistent video reviews. That's V. He's consistently gathering consistent, objective video reviews. I, he's adding images that have been optimized for Google search results. S, he's adding consistent search engine content. He's adding consistent, original, relevant HTML text to his website. And M, he's getting more reviews. V, he's getting the great video reviews. I, he's adding images that are optimized. S, he's adding search engine content that's original and relevant and related to the keyword. And M, he's getting more reviews than everybody else. VISM, that is how you dominate search engine results. But for all 13 points in the proven system that Dr. Z and I have documented and have used time and time again to build, at this point, 16 multi-million-dollar companies, there is a proven path for each step. So step 1, establish revenue goals. We'll walk you through the proven path. 2, establish the number of customers you need to break even and to achieve financial freedom. That is documented. Step 3, establish the number of hours you're willing to work on your business. This is all documented in the Boom Book, which is available for you to download for free right now. There's no catch to it. Just go to thrivetimeshow.com/free resources and download the Boom Book. And if you say, I've already read the Boom Book, then I would ask you this: are you implementing the things in the Boom Book? Are you actually implementing the things in the Boom Book? Knowledge is just potential power. Action is the real measure of intelligence, according to Napoleon Hill. Again, knowledge is just potential power. But action is the real measure of intelligence. That's what Napoleon Hill says. Napoleon Hill, the best-selling self-help author of all time, says that knowledge without application is meaningless. He said that action is the real measure of intelligence, and it is up to you to implement what you're learning. You just cannot keep gathering information and not acting upon it. You can do it. And for the 160 of you that have been fortunate enough to be into our business coaching program, you've seen the successes, and I appreciate you for sharing and documenting your successes, which everybody can now watch and see at thrivetimeshow.com/testimonials. But if you want to become a millionaire, you can do it. If you want to become a billionaire, you can do it, but you've got to apply the proven systems. Man, that guy got me super pissed. Well, let me read this notable quotable to you from Napoleon Hill, the best-selling author of Think and Grow Rich, the personal apprentice of Andrew Carnegie and the personal mentor of Oral Roberts. He writes, a Carnegie or a Rockefeller or a James J. Hill or a Marshall Field accumulates a fortune through the application of the same principles available to all of us, but we envy them and their wealth without ever thinking of studying their philosophy and applying it to ourselves. We look at a successful person in the hour of their triumph and wonder how they did it. But we overlook the importance of analyzing their methods. And we forget the price they had to pay and the careful, well-organized preparation that had to be made before they could reap the fruits of their efforts. Well said, Mr. Napoleon Hill. And now we have yet another guest here on this Uncoachables edition of the Thrive Time Show. Sir, I love the costume. What question would you possibly have for myself?
I fight crime.
I get it. That is awesome.
I destroy villains. I bring justice to the world. But my wife will not do the accounting.
So you mean that you fight people with weapons who might want to kill you on a daily basis, but you can't make your wife do the accounting?
This is true. I don't do well with uncomfortable conversations. What advice do you have?
Well, the best-selling author of the 4-Hour Work Week, the former startup venture capitalist and the award-winning podcaster, Tim Ferriss has written, a person's success in life can usually be measured by the number of uncomfortable conversations he or she is willing to have. A person's success in life can usually be measured by the number of uncomfortable conversations he or she is willing to have.
I can't have that conversation. She dresses me and tells me how I should cut my hair.
Well, then, unfortunately, my friend, you are going to lose. If you want to win as an entrepreneur, you've got to find your biggest limiting factor and hold them accountable, which is why I would highly recommend, do not go into business with your girlfriend, with your wife, with your best friend, or anybody that you know unless you are prepared to fire them. Unless you are prepared to fire them. If you're prepared to fire them and you're okay with firing them, and somehow in your weird relationship that firing your significant other or your best friend wouldn't harm the relationship, then by all means go into business with family and friends. But John D. Rockefeller, the world's wealthiest man during his lifetime, once wrote, "A friendship founded on business is better than a business founded on friendship." Why did he say that? A friendship founded on business is better than a business founded on friendship. It's because when you start holding people accountable for getting things done, man, that relationship can get weird real fast. Okay, so I think we have time now for 2 more guests on this epic edition of the Thrive Time Show, as we're teaching you to just say no to jackassery and socialism, and confronting the uncoachable mindsets that predictably produce poverty. Who is the next guest on the Thrive Time Show?
Let me start by saying this. Clavis, your show was smooth like butter. Like the young Joan Rivers with her legs back in the day. It was like your legs are... Your voice is as smooth as Joan Rivers' young legs once were. And I just want to start off by saying I'm having a hard time keeping and retaining key employees, keeping my top people engaged in the task at hand. What advice would you have?
Well, I guess I'd like to ask, when do your key employees typically leave your company?
Whenever I have an employee that fails to meet a deadline, I always will leave a decapitated horse head in their bed. I have found that when you wake up with a horse head in your bed, you never forget.
That's a little too intense. I mean, why don't you just write somebody up, and say, hey, in the future, no longer do this. This is not acceptable.
Clevis, do you have any good threats that I could use to motivate my employees that maybe we're not involved actually decapitating a horse head? I think that's the problem. I think once I decapitate the horse head and I put it in the bed, people always get my motives wrong. They always misunderstand what I'm trying to say.
Okay, we're gonna mute your mic. But the main issue is that you have to have a carrot and a stick. You have to have a reward in place to incentivize your employees to want to do well, right? You have to have an incentive or a bonus or something they're chasing. It's like, if you do this, then this great thing happens. But then you also have to have a stick in place where if they don't do their job, this bad thing happens. But I know that threatening your employees with physical violence is not a move. And I mention this because a lot of bosses out there are just infinitely upset that their employees are not as passionate as they are. And they intimidate them and they threaten them, and that's not going to work. You have to have a carrot in place to motivate your top people and a stick to prevent people from drifting. A carrot and a stick. A reward and a penalty. You have to have that in place to sustainably motivate and to retain top people. Well, now we still have time for one more guest on this Uncoachables edition of the Thrive Time Show. Sir, welcome onto the show, and hopefully you are more coachable than the last few guests.
Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate you. My name is Al. From Al's Garage. Just check me out on Instagram. It's like whatever. I'm huge. It's like just hashtag Al's Garage. You know what I'm saying? It's like boom. And I want to go viral. So Just tell me how to do it. I would know I was born for greatness, and it's like not even like possible to debate this, you know. So I just want to know the moves. Tell me the moves. Tell me the move. Tell me what to do, and I'll do the move.
Al, I appreciate you, and it's not just a move, it's a series of moves. You have to implement all of the proven moves.
Okay, well, I know a guy. Okay, I know a guy who knows how to do it.
I'm not sure what it is, but let me recap what you have to do to build a successful company, all right? And this is from page 4 of the Boom Book that all of our listeners can download for free right now. You can download the book for free by going to thrivetimeshow.com free resources. thrivetimeshow.com/free resources. 1, you've got to define your goals. You got to know why you're doing this, how many customers you need to achieve your goal, and the number of customers needed to break even. 2, you got to determine the number of hours you're willing to work on the business, all right? 3, you need to determine your unique value proposition. 4, you want to improve your branding so that you look world-class. 5, you've got to create a three-legged marketing stool, a system for marketing your business that does not involve your time. You've got to create systems that are in place that will allow you to market without exchanging your time for dollars. There's got to be a turnkey way that you're marketing. 6, you've got to nail the sales conversion process. You've got to learn the proven process for sales. You have to nail the scripts, right? You got to have the call recording in place. Everything has to be repeatable and scalable.
Yeah. But I want to know, what is the move? What is the move I need to do? I know a guy who can knock out your 13 steps. I know a guy. But what is the move?
Okay, so who is your guy?
Sneak Fallon.
Really?
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a good guy.
What does he do for a living?
He does profiteering, okay? He has a series of business ventures that he does up on the Cape that allows him to generate an economically viable business situation for himself.
So you're saying that this guy is going to knock everything out for you, but you just want to know what the secret move is.
Okay, so you is wicked awesome, all right? So you're going to treat me like a townie who's never left the Cape before. I have explored this vast world, and I will tell you, I know a guy. I just want to know the move.
This Uncoachable show has almost pushed me to the point of insanity. Please mute this guy's mic. Success is not about a singular move or a singular action. It's about figuring out and determining the best practice systems that work and diligently implementing them until success. You have to learn the proven moves and then implement those moves until you achieve success. That's what we do here. We teach you the proven systems that you need to know to grow your business. But if you're looking for a hack or a move, or you quote unquote know a guy, it's not going to work for you. But if you're somebody who is like our 160 clients, who wants to implement proven systems that are scalable and sustainable, the same systems that Dr. Zellner and I have used to build 16 multi-million-dollar companies, then this is the show for you. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I've been coaching clients for 12, almost 13 years now. I don't quite understand it. But if you're out there today and you feel stuck and you want to get unstuck, and you are coachable, you are trainable, unlike today's guests, I would encourage you to book your tickets to our next in-person Thrive Time Show workshop. Again, book your tickets to our next in-person Thrive Time Show workshop by going to thrivetimeshow.com and clicking on the conferences button. Just click on the conferences button and book your tickets there. You can book your tickets for $250 if you'd like to attend, or if you'll leave us an objective review about what you've learned about the Thrive Time Show on our Google Map or on our iTunes account for the Thrive Time Show. Either way, just leave us a review and take a screenshot of the review and email us to info@thrivetimeshow.com. Email us a screenshot of your review to info@thrivetimeshow.com. We will give you tickets for as little as $37. Your tickets will just be $37. That means you can attend the world's highest rated and most reviewed business workshop for $37. What's keeping you from doing it? I don't know. But we want to help you, and I want to encourage you that you can absolutely get unstuck. And so I wanted to leave today's show. I wanted to end today's show by playing an audio from a startup that we worked with 3 years ago that now has gone from a startup to doing over $1 million of revenue. Think about that. 9 out of 10 businesses fail. 9 out of 10 fail. But this guy went from being a startup to a success story. His name is Thomas Crossan. His company is called Full Package Media, and you can learn more about his story today by going to fullpackagemedia.com.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Thomas Crossan, owner and founder of Full Package Media in Dallas, Texas. I've been a coaching client with Clay Clark since the beginning of our business. We started about a year ago, August of last year. I had no clients, no idea what we were doing, no clue really what was going on. And now we've grown to where we've got 6 photographers, we've got office space here. I have an admin, sales person that works for us full time, developing an online system. And a lot of that growth we attribute to Clay helping us. And there's so many things that, his stuff is not, revolutionary. It's not this crazy walk on hot coals and all this stuff. It's just real stuff. And like group interviews, we were totally against group interviews. We were like, no, we're different and we're special, and we need to, do one-on-one interviews so we can find good quality candidates and not just kind of do this group interview thing. And we tried that and we failed miserably. We did group interviews. Now we do them every 2 weeks. And it's awesome. It works good. We always have kind of an influx of new people that we can train, get going. He's helped us a lot with our website, graphic design, SEO. SEO is another thing that I thought before I started this business and before Clay that it was kind of a joke, or something that only your Apples of the world and Amazon could get to the top of Google. But Clay said, no, just do these things. Follow these steps and you'll get there. And I think now we look today and we're number 2 for Dallas real estate photography. If you don't believe me, you can look. So we're getting to the top of there. That's really cool. It's really awesome to get leads that people will call you and say, hey, I found you on Google. We want to hear about your services. So that's really great. I'd say there's nobody out there that's not a good coaching client for Clay. Anyone, regardless of the business, it's not about what the business is, what the specialty is. It's about following the steps, doing what he says. It's a good thing. An hour a week, it gets you on track and keeps you kind of in line of what you're doing and what you shouldn't be doing. And it's good to kind of give you some flow and future goals of your business. And I remember our first meeting, we set our goals, and our goal was to do 16 shoots a week. And at the time, me and my business partner / girlfriend Gretchen were like, "Oh, we're never gonna do 16 a week. That's just like crazy." And today we're doing 9, and we did about 54 last week. So he's helped us grow. We've put in a lot of hours, a lot of hard work as well. But if you follow his steps and do what he says, there's a lot of principles that he's kind of taught and instilled in us that help us. So. Clay Clark is the way to go. I wouldn't venture out to find someone else. They'd be more expensive and a lot more fluff and no real actionable work and things to get your business growing. So that's the way to go. Thanks.
Over the past 3 years, I've had the opportunity to work with ShawHomes.com. That's the largest home builder in Oklahoma. That's ShawHomes.com. And we've been able to grow the company from just under $40 million of revenue to now over $80 million of sales and revenue within just the past 3 years. How? Well, Aaron Antis reached out for coaching. 1. 2, he is coachable. 3, I showed him the proven path. 4, he diligently implemented everything that we taught him. But don't take it from me. Let's hear what Aaron Antis has to say about what it's like to follow the proven path, the path less traveled, what it's like to follow the path that most people will never understand or go down. What is it like to go down the proven path, the path that very few people choose to follow, the path that actually works, the path to the top of success, the path that leads to the top of the mountain of success. What does it feel like and sound like? And what kind of things do you have to do to actually implement the proven path?
Our sales have gone up $8.2 million so far through the end of third quarter, which is a 20.3% increase from last year. Our sales have gone up $8.2 million so far through the end of third quarter, which is a 20.3% increase from last year. So, pretty hot.
If you're doing math.
Yeah.
Now, I want to have you talk about the three things, and you don't have to look at him, or you can just talk to the team.
Yeah.
The three things you're doing, there's a lot of things you're doing well, but there's three things I think I want to hammer home on. One is you get Google reviews and you add content. So one is reviews and content. Two is the group interview. And three is scripting and firing the idiots that won't follow the scripts. So let's go with Google reviews and content. How do you do it? How have you gotten your team to do it? Just the people in here can then take this knowledge and share with their clients.
So a year ago, I had a 16-member sales team. Today, I have 2 of those people still remaining on my team. So I meet with them every single week and make sure that they're doing Google reviews, and we have 16 different locations on Google My Business, so we have a lot of locations to get reviews for. In the last 30 days, we have, between all of those locations, just under 200 Google reviews, and but I force them to do a certain number every single week. And so they saw the people who were there have heard from the people, or the people who are there heard from the people who used to be there, that when we started getting more Google reviews, we started having more people come in the doors. And actually our traffic in our models is way up. And if you look behind the scenes on insights, you can see where people are clicking on driving directions and showing up at our models because of Google reviews.
Ready to buy.
And they're ready to buy, yeah. They're convinced before they get there. When we hit 100, it seemed like it was a tipping point on our main page that at 100, the customers were convinced before they came in that they wanted a home from us, which I never saw before.
And we don't change the ads. Pretty much the ads are the same.
I haven't changed them in a long time, yeah.
And the ads work because of the reviews.
Yep.
You guys are writing content.
Yep.
We've been writing
Yeah,
content.
same thing every week. I make sure that they do podcasts, and I gave you, I don't even know how many this last week, but lots of them. So
Every week.
Every week.
But the reason why the relationship I have with Aaron is really solid as far as the coaching relationship goes is that he does not bring in his employees and ask for their feedback about the things I'm telling him.
No.
He does not ask them, hey, what do you guys think? And so I can say to him in a meeting, hey, fire those people. And then one of the people that he fired goes to Dr. Breck's chiropractic center. So he's getting an adjustment. He's like, you work with Clay, don't you? He goes, yes. He's like, I hate that guy. He got me fired. And so Breck says something to the effect of, okay, well, you want me to adjust your back? And he continues to share how he doesn't like that he got fired, but at the end of the day, the reason why whoever it was, I don't even know the person's name, they got fired because they just would not write reviews and wouldn't write content. So it's really important with your clients that they shouldn't bring their employees to those meetings if at all possible, because that's a problem.
Yeah, and the other thing was, at first I started by just doing the group interview when I needed somebody, and then it seemed like the more and more I held people accountable, the more and more I needed somebody all the time. So,
that crucible where I think we worked together for about a year and a half, and I remember we had a conversation, and if I'm saying it wrong, correct me, but it was something to the effect of, is having this much turnover good? It was something like that.
In fact, I think I said it in that tone of voice.
Because leadership is something would tell you that you have high turnover, you're a bad boss.
Right.
And I would tell you that if you have low turnover, you're a bad boss.
So a really cool meeting that happened is one of the people that I most recently fired, who was demanded a meeting with Glenn Shaw to complain about the Thrive method of doing things, that we had turned over 31 people in 2 years. He had counted. And he had gone and gotten transcripts from all of them to share with Mr. Shaw about how horrible the Thrive way doesn't work.
Yeah.
And so as he sat down to start explaining this, he's like, well, let me just explain that system doesn't work and there's been so much turnover. And Glenn goes, let me just stop you right there. The last 3 years have all been record-setting years for us, both in volume and profitability. So that argument isn't going to fly right here. So did you have something else you wanted to talk about? So that was the entirety of our conversation.
But I just wanted you guys to just give examples, because he and I are both Patriots fans, and they got a guy, Ben Watson, I believe his name was, who was drafted on the Patriots. He played on the Patriots for, I think, 3 seasons or 2 seasons, and then they let him go play somewhere else. And he's been in the NFL for, I think, 15 years, and they convinced he and his wife and their 7 kids to move back to New England and to unretire to play this year as tight end.
Yeah.
And then they just cut him the other day because he wasn't a good fit. So the point is, it's like if you look at the roster of the Patriots or any team that wins at anything, you're very loyal to people who perform, but people who can't get it done, you're not mad at them. It's just like, I realize that you and your wife and your 7 kids have moved here and you came out of retirement. All these things are great, but we're cutting you.
Yep.
Because you're not performing within the system. And the whole goal of a business is to grow the business. The goal of the business is not to create a fun camp environment for the employees to hang out.
This
Does that
is
make
so
sense?
true. Yeah.
So it's very different though than, but if you hadn't cut those people, we couldn't do it. Now you have a great team.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them have been there now 6 months or a year. We're starting to get, and then those people should stick around for years.
Yeah, and like 50 people a week keep coming, looking, and everybody wants to work at our company, and it's pretty awesome.
So let's recap though. Group interviews every week.
Yep.
How many candidates do you have every week that are showing up at this point?
I mean, we get like 50-ish
I think we had
per week.
71 RSVPs.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we had 70 something, but like 50 show up,
Yeah.
and then that's out of like 120 to 130 that apply every week.
And out of last week's batch, we probably had 8 people, maybe 9 people
Mhm.
that I think would be a great fit for Shaw.
Yep.
But it's because they want it, not because they have experience selling houses.
Yep.
So it's about 8 or 9 from last week. And then content, you're getting that every week. Reviews, you're getting every week. You're not changing your ads every week.
I'm going to throw one more thing in here that you didn't ask about, but that was really relevant for me. And that is, I feel like what we do is super specialized. When I first came in here, I was like, but you don't understand, our business is different. I know you guys have all heard this, right? You don't understand, our business is different. This is so specialized. There's so much training that needs to go into this. And I never in a million years thought that I could get people to like sell homes right away that hadn't been here for a year going through intensive training. And the interesting part of it is we just hired a couple of people who have never done this, don't know what they're doing, plugged them into the system. One of them did 1.5 million in sales his first 30 days, which is just nuts. And he's never done this before. The other one was like 1.2 million in 30 days. And we've sold with tons of brand new people. By the way, while I was out of town in Alaska for 2 weeks, we sold in 60 days, we sold 46 houses. So kind of crazy with all brand new people.
And then the scripting we have going on, starting this week, I think you guys are bringing by workstations.
Yep.
And then we'll hire 2 people that will work in this building, but just calling just for you, your
Yep.
leads all the time.
Yep.
And the scripting, can you explain how the scripting has fixed things too? Now there's a script for everything.
Yeah, so that was the part about like them having to be like so proficient in what we do. I thought they needed to know everything about the entire company and all the massive amounts of data and charts and stuff we have. But interestingly, if I just give them 4 things they need to talk about in each home on a 1 sheet, and then what we call the path, which explains how to buy a home. And I literally make them read the bullet points while pointing to each bullet point on this chart. The customer completely understands how to buy a home from us. And then we created what we call the John Kelly method of pricing out the customer. Thanks to John, kudos, for the pricing out of the home, which was like the most complicated part because you needed to know everything about how a home is built. Well, you no longer do. It's just literally a PowerPoint where they read what's on every slide as they go through this slideshow. And it literally asks them the question, do you want this or this? This is how this works. Do you want this or this? And they don't need to know anything.
3 years ago, before we met, what were the sales for the year? Because you'd already sold $800 million of houses before.
Yeah, that year, I want to say we were at 36 million.
And what are we at right now so far?
Today we are at 62 million.
And then we're going to end the year, unless we suck.
I think we'll be at 80 million this year. By the end of the
Now,
year.
one thought for you: when you sell a house, you make a profit of about 6% the company makes.
That's net after all expenses. Although that number is up, we're probably going to be at about 8.5% this year.
So if a house is $300,000, the average house,
Mhm.
and the profit was 10%, which is not, that would be $30,000. So it's 8%, it'd be $24,000. So $24,000 of profit per house you sell.
Yep.
And then I make $2,000 per month. That's what I charge you. I think.
Yep.
Or $1,700. I don't know.
We are 2,500.
Okay, because you're exclusive for houses.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
okay. So he pays $2,500.
Yep.
So if he sells one house, he paid for me for the year.
Yep.
And you usually sell a house a week, which means I pay for myself for the year every week.
I'm pretty sure out of the extra 8.2 million this year, we can afford you.
Which is why I have the Yeezys.
I did the math. I had our accounting department look at that real close.
Aaron's going to be auto shipping us all Yeezys.
Oh, wow.
It's a statement of faith.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, anybody have any questions for Aaron? Because Shaw, this is an example of what the relationship should look like after 3 years. Does anybody have any questions for a real life win?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So for you coming in with the mindset of we're unique, we're different, how was it? What did Clay do? How did he get you to think differently about your business?
He mocked me with humor, and repeatedly, over and over again, and told me different stories of other examples from other industries, and I definitely had a pain threshold there that I was willing to at least look at it. I think I believed half of what he told me at the beginning and thought, prove it to me on the other half. And so as I started to get wins in certain areas, like the Google review thing really gave us wins, and then the no-brainer gave us a bunch of wins, and we started getting a lot more leads coming in. So that credibility lended itself to going, okay, maybe he's right about some of this other stuff too. So I started like trying other parts of it. Like I remember the first time I did the group interview, I was shocked at how much time it saved me. And so
literally, it's like 50 hours of time saved.
Yes.
Maybe even more than that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's terrible. I mean, just so you guys know, if you are Aaron and you didn't have a group interview, you'd have to go through and read all the resumes, and then guess who's lying and who's not, based upon penmanship or the college they went to or how they formatted it or whatever. And then you'd have to interview the people, and then you'd have. I mean, it's just terrible.
I can also remember like some meetings sitting in, and it was like the 4th or 5th time he had told me the same thing, but just in a slightly different way, always with humor, because if you're going to be honest, you got to be funny.
You look at Bible verses.
Yep.
And you and I have seen this before. We've been to church long enough to see this, but there are pastors in America today who advocate that money is bad because it's the root of all evil. I'm sure you've all heard that argument. Aaron, have you heard this argument?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you've heard pastors paraphrase parts of Scripture that explain that you should basically be poor because money is bad. I'm sure you've heard this.
Yeah.
But if anybody here would actually read the context of it, you'd understand that the love of money overall is bad. But just money in and of itself is just a thing. It's not bad or good. But anyway, like, so when you guys are citing things, most marketing companies in Tulsa either A, do not cite things, or they cite emotional arguments.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be like this. If you're dealing with most marketing companies in Tulsa, they would say, asking for reviews doesn't work. And furthermore, you can't ask in the home. Because if you ask them in the home, it's going to show up as a review from the same IP address, and then the reviews won't count. And so really what we want to do is make this app for you. And this app called Pilot, what's it called? Pilot? Trustpilot. What's another one? Just like, and it's going to text people or email them and ask them how their experience was, and then they'll leave a review that way. And so when I'm telling my client, you have to get reviews in the home right then, boom, 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 it is flying in the face of every other marketing firm in Tulsa. Everybody else is saying the opposite of what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Your employees are saying the opposite of what I'm saying. Articles online that are written by randos who have blogs are also saying so.
And then I had a couple that thought you were nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if I didn't cite it, there's zero hope.
Yeah.
You can't just go in there and say things, and you cannot not be funny. Like, not being funny is a really bad thing.
Yep.
You have to be very honest with people.
Yeah, I mean, you had some painful conversations with me through the process. You know, I mean, probably out of the first 20 times we met, I only cried like 8 times. So, but during those painful conversations, when you mix it with humor, made it a little bit easier to palate. So, and then it was logical argument too. So I would go home and like think through the logic of what you mentioned, and then think about the cited stuff.
But false logic is what other marketing firms use. I want to make sure you understand. You can't just say, well, a 9 out of 10 business owners are using Trustpilot to get reviews. Like, you can't. That's not that's false logic. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, they are, which is why they're wrong. Or you can't say that 9 out of 10 business owners think that a group interview is unethical and it doesn't work. Yeah, that's also false logic. Of course they don't, because they're wrong. And so it's almost like, and I told you the other day, Nick, I said, if everybody says something, I always then go the opposite of what they think is true. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to teach these clients this stuff, and you got to cite it, otherwise they won't. I'm just telling you, because other marketing firms are teaching false logic, which is 9 out of 10 people say you shouldn't use the script because you don't want to make your employees feel like robots. Well, that's great. That is a great stat. You know, but you shouldn't be asking your employees if they want to feel like robots or not. That's a false question. So any other questions for Aaron? Because Aaron's been down the path, down the system for years now and doing a great job. And I think next year, if Trump wins, I think you'll do $100 million of sales. If he loses, I think you'll probably do 80 again.
Yep.
We'll see. But, I mean, do you agree with that?
I would agree with that, but I'll say either way, we're doing $100 million next year.
Okay, any other questions for Aaron?
Yeah, I have a question about the sales scripting process and also the John Kelly method process.
Yeah.
When you go to do that project to work on your business, was that harder than you thought it was going to be initially? Like, once you'd been through the process, what was that like compared to what you thought it would be like?
I wouldn't say it was harder. I mean, the one thing, you know, the phrase, first you nail it, then you scale it. Mm-hmm. Like, I already had all the information in my brain. It was more of a thing of, like, putting it all down on paper. Mm-hmm. And it really helped, like, having John live to talk to because he had just been through our old process. Mm-hmm. And so he was like, I can't picture what you're talking about. You're trying to describe to me what crown molding on top of these windows looks like, and I don't have a picture in front of me. I can't see it. So it was a delegation of getting all these photos brought together. Mm-hmm. But then literally what Clay said is write down exactly what you would say, and then make them say what you would say, but you have it all written down. And so that part was pretty easy, although it took a little bit of time. The content was easy, and I think for most people, if they're like they come from the place of being a technician.
If you listen to this show on a consistent basis, I know that you are coachable, and I hope that we are approachable. And the best way for you to get into the conversation and to dramatically increase your compensation is to take the first step. So one, you can go to thrivetimeshow.com and book your tickets to attend our next in-person Thrive Time Show workshop. You could do that. And if you leave us an objective review on iTunes or Google, if you leave us a review right now on iTunes or Google and then screenshot the review and email that to info@thrivetimeshow.com, you can attend the workshop for just $37. Or if you would prefer to pay full price, you can buy a ticket for $250. Or if you'd prefer to look into one-on-one coaching, just go email us right now to info@thrivetimeshow.com. That's info@thrivetimeshow.com. Email us your contact information, and we can schedule what we call a 13-point assessment, where I can find out what your biggest limiting factors are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, where you're stuck. And then I will personally make a proven plan and path for you that we can lead you down if we have an availability at that specific time in the place and space in the universe. So again, you can book your tickets to a conference, you can schedule a one-on-one consultation, or you can download all of the ebooks. You can download an ebook version of all of the books that I've ever written today by going to thrivetimeshow.com/free resources. And now, without any further ado, we like to end each and every show with a boom. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom!